Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing here on RaceSpotTV, powered by Antoine Designs. A total of 50 drivers over the next 12 weeks will be making their claim to get a place in the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, and as always, we start with qualifying here from Twin Ring Motegi. Will Vincent, along with Alex Simpson, as qualifying just getting underway right about now. We'll take you immediately to the action. You'll see there on the left-hand side of your screens the fastest times as they come up. And Alex, great to have you on board for the Pro Series. A lot of new drivers, a lot of new names, plenty of action ahead of us.
Yeah, it's going to be a great series for sure. Some returning faces. I see Atsi Kirchhoff returning as well. We know the kind of pedigree he can bring to the series. Mitch de Jong as well, great driver from this year's World Championship, so it's going to be a really tight battle up there, I'm sure, and some new faces coming in as well. It's going to be a good season.
De Jong, first one up then on the timing stands, and there you see Christian Tanahote has completed a run as well. Tomo Muzlek is on the racetrack. We've got Richard Avery on the racetrack as well. We're going to ride along board with Richard Avery as he comes out of pit road, representing Club UK and Ireland. And this racetrack, Twin Ring Motegi, we talk about Japanese asphalt quite a lot, Alex. We'll do so probably all race long. It's very slippery, this racetrack, and that means that this is arguably the perfect test for these drivers to kick off their campaign.
Yeah, exactly. Motegi's been known as one of the worst, I think, for slippy, low-speed grip in the series, so a bit of a challenge straight up. Normally we start somewhere like Spa, so the series have definitely put a bit of a curveball in there by chucking Motegi in first round. We'll see what everybody's made of for sure.
Running along board then with Mitchell de Jong in the number 51 car as he is warming up for a run. Of course, he's currently got provisional pole position. It's Hal Vaz in second place and Christian Tanahote in the third position. Sebastian Job and Patrick Holzman running out your top five, with Alexia Loma in sixth, which continues to ride along board with Mitchell de Jong. And this section of the racetrack, sector 2, you have that very fast left-right flick. Then you've got yourself arguably the two most difficult corners on the racetrack, Alex.
Oh yeah, that tight left-hander there. There's something about that corner that always wants to kick the back end out as well. So we'll see a lot of drivers either compromising the setup for that corner, or they'll perhaps do some sort of in-car tweaks or something like that, just to try and get some sort of stability in that back end. So then, de Jong is about to get himself on another lap very quickly. You will see Alexia Loma there as we're having a look at his sector times. He's working himself down on the back straight away. This is an out lap for him. He's down to 7th place on the timing stands. But Mitchell de Jong is go as we ride along board with him, coming down in towards turn number 1. These couple of corners, they are very stop-start. You need good rhythm for this section of the racetrack, Alex. Yeah, the rhythm is all important around here as well. It takes a little while for the drivers to get into that sort of mindset as well. This stop-start track can be very, very tricky, but once you get, like you say, once you get yourself into that rhythm, you can really start to find the flow of this circuit, and it's actually really enjoyable to drive. So then underneath the bridge, on top of that, is the oval, an egg-shaped oval measuring just about 1.55 miles. And now you're into those sweeping S's, left-hand flick, use a little bit of curb on the inside, then again, as you turn right, use that curb on the exit, not too much here for de Jong, as he now breaks it down to that 90-degree left-hander. Then you've got the slowest corner on the racetrack, the hairpin, as de Jong, first sector time for him, a 24.1, second sector, a 28.6, as he's now down into the hairpin. He's looking to try and get himself a gap, which he's already got a half-second gap over Fulvio Barazzini, up into second place. And to talk about Barazzini pretty quickly there, Alex, of course, he had a great run in the 2013 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, including winning a race. Not so lucky in the 2014 campaign. Yeah, something just didn't click for him last season. I'm not really sure quite what it was, but I honestly didn't think he was going to be doing this Pro Series as well. So it's great to see that he hasn't sort of chucked it in, and that he's going to be competing, because definitely a driver we want to see on the grid next season. As de Jong improves on his lap time, one new driver who has just moved himself into third, Atsi Kirchhoff, making a return into
the RaceSpotTV Pro Series of Road Racing. He's won a couple of races on his campaign. Having a look as Alexei Aloma comes past the start-finish line, currently in 9th position. Does this lap improve him? The answer to that question is no, he won't. 9th place for Alexei Aloma. You've also got Juris Lakino, currently scored on the racetrack in the number 71 car, representing Club Central Eastern Europe. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, a little bit later on today, we will have ourselves the Group C tournament for the RaceSpotTV World Cup of iRacing. Michel Mancusi on the racetrack. Now, Mancusi, again, was one of these drivers who, as he gets loose there through turn number 2, that's going to really hurt him. Never he's got time to back it back up. I don't think he has, but Mancusi, Alex, he had an okay season. He lost it all right at the very end. Last race of the season, he really was involved in the big carnage at the start of the race, and that put his chances of the 2015 campaign in jeopardy. He now has to run through what is arguably the 10 toughest weeks of any open-wheel driver's career.
Yeah, I think Mancusi's working alongside Friction. Don't quote me on that one, but got a few guys in this series as well, Christian there. So let's hope that those guys can work well and he can have a better season, because Mancusi's really quick actually, and to work on your own like he did all through last season's WCS series just shows what kind of a driver he is. It's very, very tricky to do that.
Aerial coverage there for Fulvio Barazzini as he works himself, and this is what you mean, this very fast sweeping section of racetrack, first to the left, then to the right. You can see that a 360 times at the bottom of your screen for Fulvio Barazzini, representing Triple M Racing. We'll get the Sector 2 time up in just 1 moment's time. Barazzini currently 2nd place in qualifying. You have only got him at your top 5 scored on the racetrack as he works himself now out the hairpin. This is the pit straight for the support races here at Motegi, working himself now down the hill. And this corner here, we'll see some passing here, Alex, but you've late on the brakes anyway. Very difficult to try and find a way to outbrake someone. Very easy to go into the gravel.
Yeah, the new draft model that's come into effect as well means that the guys don't get such a pull from as far back as they were, but there's no dirty air as well, so we can follow a little bit closer this season. So we'll have to see on that, and then once you get within that 6 or 4/10 of a second, the suck up you get to the back of the cars now is pretty extreme. So we might well see some overtaking here, but it's always tricky at Motegi, and that one corner is probably your best chance for it.
Miguel Martin in the number 22 car coming past the start-finish line. His fastest lap was a 1:25.6. His last lap there, a 1:25.7. Miguel Martin only able to go P8 for the time being. A couple of people still scored left on the racetrack as qualifying is close to coming to an end. There you see Emil Henriksen, currently scored all the way down in the 28th position in qualifications right now in the Virtual Racing car. Any of us who saw the 24 Hours of Spa, remember Virtual Racing had a great scrap until kind of incidents went their way. But Henriksen riding along board with him as he works himself through the S's. We'll get his sector times up on the left-hand side of your screen. First sector not too bad, 24.659. Sector 2 going to come up in just 1 moment's time for him, and that's a 29.083. He's about 2-3 tenths of a second slower than Barazzini at that point of the racetrack, Alex.
Yeah, it looks pretty tidy lap. The most important thing for him really is just to get himself inside that top 35, ensure that he gets a place on the grid. But looks like a steady lap right now. Perhaps a little bit deep there, just misses the apex through that tight right-hander there. This last sector, all important, very tricky through this chicane. Looks like he nailed it there. Get on the power hard to complete the lap.
So past start-finish line then for Emil Henriksen, it's going to be a 1:26.65, and that unfortunately does not move him any higher than 28th place on the racetrack. Henriksen's day is done. One more driver on the racetrack. There you see Benjamin Lindsay, currently 32nd. Will he improve his time as he comes past the start-finish line? No, yes he will. Lindsay up into the 11th place there. Good final lap by him.
Yeah, good lap there. Talk about leaving it right to the last minute. Pressure through those last few corners must have been pretty immense.
So then, ladies and gentlemen, that is everyone done for qualifying. And with that, we will run through your final qualifying result. And it will be Mitchell de Jong starting this race on pole position. Qualifying time for him of a 1:24.775. Fulvio Barazzini in second for the Triple M team, and then Atsi Kirchhoff making a return to the series. He qualifies in third. Galvaz in fourth, Christian Tanahote in the fifth position. Sebastian Jarre, Patrick Holzman, Miguel Martin, Rizky Irisaki, and Alexia Loma round out your top 10. And then to have a look at page number 2, Benjamin Lindsay, Yuris Ilyenko, Frank Levesque IV, Richard Avery, Dimitri Yanis, Michelle Mancusi, David Corpse, Hunter Manley, Marcus Gatton, and Samuel Clark. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for just 1 moment's time, and we'll be back with a roundup of all things qualifying and a look ahead to the first round of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing, powered by And1 Design, here on RaceSpotTV. We will be right back.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch going into turn 2. And now the 93, 39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
here we go.
You love it. The 1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to continued coverage of the first round of the 2014 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Will Vincent still here with Alex Simpson. Roundup of qualifying then, Alex. One of the things about the Pro Series is that what you do is you combine the 25 worst drivers in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series with the new guns, the hot shots, who's worked their way up through the iRacing.com Grand Prix Series. what you get is an incredibly interesting field. Now, for the guys who are working themselves to try and get themselves back into the World Championship Series, it might not just be that they're bad at driving. They might have had a tough year, like we talked about Barazini earlier. Actually, Kirchhoff missed the entire year due to the fact he was running in real-life competition. But then what you do is you get some great new names. People like Mitchell de Jong, people like Sebastian Job, people like Christian Tanahote, who have been waiting now for over 6 months to get themselves into the big leagues. This is their chance for the first time to make an impression on the world stage.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, these guys will be a little bit nervous, I think, today. I remember myself just 12 months ago today in a similar sort of position, lining up at Spa, and I was pretty nervous racing against everyone. You know, the goal really is to reach the World Championship Series. They're up against some big names here. You know, Mitch de Jong, we know how quick he is. Actually, Kirchhoff as well, arguably one of the best sim racers of the world at the moment. So got some tough competition out there as well, and they'll want to compete as best they can and see if they can get their points as early as they can.
Well, we'll have a look through your top 10 once again. Ryan Race Team's Mitchell de Jong on pole position. Of course, Alex, we saw de Jong in the ISO.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, a podium finish for him in the time that he raced up. Of course, people forget that he had that qualification attempt at Watkins Glen that I believe would have put him second on the grid, wasn't eligible to race that day. He arguably is the hands-on favourite to take this series by storm, but you've got that guy in third position, Atty Kirchhoff. We know just how fast he is. And of course, he's got the Team Redline backing. Arguably, Kirchhoff, de Jong will make for an amazing championship here.
Yeah, that qualifying gap looks pretty big, but looking at the World Championship times, Kirchhoff's done a 24.5, so perhaps didn't nail a lap in qualifying, but I expect to see him right there in the race. It's going to be interesting to see what Fulvian does up front, and if Kirchhoff can get past him pretty quickly. If he gets held up at all there, it could let Mitchell just run away and choose a strategy he wants to run.
Of course, Barazini and Kirchhoff are both winners in the ISO.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. It is worth remembering, though, throughout the World Championship Series this year, Team Redline weren't the best qualifiers. That was Commander Simsport. Enzo Benito had some issues in qualifying. Gregor Hutu, quite famously, didn't actually qualify in the top 3 for about 6 races in a row. It was that mid-race pace, however, where the Flying Finn found his speed in the World Championship Series. Are we expecting the same thing for Kirchhoff, do you think, in the Pro Series?
Yeah, I think those guys work quite strongly on their race setup. I mean, that is, at the end of the day, what is the most important factor in the race. You need to be there at the end to pick up the prize. So I dare say Kirchhoff's race pace will be right up there. Going to be interesting to see how it pans out for sure.
Paul Vaz, Christian Tanahote, Sebastian Job, Patrick Holzman, Miguel Martin, Rizky Oseki, and Alexia Loma rounds out your top 10. Couple of people in that list really do make for an exciting series. Tanahote for Friction Racing. Your guy, Sebastian Job, qualifying in 6th position for Apex Racing UK. But then you've got Holzman, pretty much unknown to the series. Miguel Martin, of course, racing his way back up. Irisake racing his way back up. And Alexia Loma actually caring about qualifying for once.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Alexi taking part there. I know we often see in the post-race comments, he's like, well, I did about half an hour's practice, stuck it on the grid, and yeah, just learned the track during the race.
So some great names there in the first part of your field. We'll head over to have a look at page 2 again, a little bit more detail. When you look at that, again, Benjamin Lindsay for TNT Racing, that last-minute dash just outside the top 10. But Lindsay, of course, has World Championship experience. Some of these other guys have also had a little bit of experience. Michel Mancusi, of course, famously lost out in the last round of the championship after being involved in an early race incident which put him out of the running. A couple of new teams as well. You've got PPR for Richard Avery, Vortex Sim Racing, who many people would have seen on RaceSpotTV in both the 24 Hours of Spa and also in the ISWC IndyCar Series. They are both starting new teams in the big leagues. And for both PPR and Vortex, they haven't had the experience of having the pressure of them and the Pro Series before, Alex. But the difference is is that these guys have experience elsewhere. We talk about Vortex Sim Racing, for example. They were dominant in this year's ISOWC IndyCar series, so they are aware of how to produce a race setup that will last for an hour, hour and a half race. Do you think that that's a little bit of an advantage for Vortex especially? And how do you think people like PPR will fare on their first trip to the big leagues?
Well, I think, I mean, obviously they're at a little disadvantage purely just because they don't really know what the competition's going to do around them. Those teams that have been in the series for 2 or 3 years now have got a good idea how the strategies seem to pan out. So that's something they're going to have to pick up on very, very quickly. But I'm sure, you know, they're experienced guys that setting the car up for the race, and I have no doubt that they'll be competitive throughout it. And we'll perhaps have to see how that pans out and see if they just nail their strategies from the word go.
And then, as I say, have a look to the rear. You've got Samuel Clark at the rear of the top 20 for TNT Racing. Also interesting that we've got all nationalities represented. We've also got all nationalities represented today in the broadcast booth with Daniel Betterfield. And that's the thing, Daniel. I mean, in Australia, it's the sillier clocks in the morning right now. We know famously 2 drivers of Team Redline, Luke McLean and the quote-unquote god of all that is World Championship Series racing, Ben Cornett, race on the opposite side of the world. Do you think there's a disadvantage to running in what is very late prime time?
Sort of yes and no. I mean, not so much the start of the race. I mean, it's just about to hit midnight where I am, so it's not too bad. Towards the end of the race, though, where it's like 1 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, that's when, towards the end of the race is where it starts to get messy.
We'll have a look at our final page of the grid, just one moment of time. But as you can see there, we've got Sebastian Dunkel with no team at the moment. Thank you very much for putting that one down. But we've also got our longest name of the series so far, Javier Jose Martinez Arrieta. That's going to make for some interesting pronunciation. But again, we've got all nationalities represented. We've got Tomiko Kono and Takehara Ishiwara for running racing. And running racing, actually, Alex, they're going to have a point to prove in this Pro Series. Because they've lost one of their drivers, Kazuki Yamashima, at the end of last year. Now, for them, it's one of those rebuilding phases. And we do so often see, sometimes teams, like Commander Sim Sports, you make a change, they just explode. Other teams do kind of fall back quite a bit once you lose one of their star drivers.
Well, I'm pretty confident that Ronin will be right up there. They're a great team. What you probably don't know is that Ronin and Apex Racing UK work very closely together. We joined some sort of semi-forces midway through last season's WCS series, and yeah, it's been a great partnership so far. And yes, we've lost Kazuki, and it was a bit, you know, it was shame to see him go, and wish him all the best of luck. But I feel that we still got the strength and depth over both teams that all the drivers will be fighting strong.
So that is your starting grid for the first round of the series. As I say, there are your top 4 once again. Mitchell de Jong, Fulvio Barazzini, Atsi Kirchhoff, and Hal Vaz, your front 2 rows of the grid. He made a very good point I want to come back to. Fulvio Barazzini, we know he can have some great starts. We know that he's also struggled in starts so far this in the last World Championship Series, Alex. He gets that start wrong, Atsi Kirchhoff might get past him. If Atsi Kirchhoff can't get past and is stuck behind, de Jong very easily could have this race won by lap 3.
Yeah, I think those first 4 or 5 corners are going to be very, very important today. Motegi is notoriously difficult to overtake. We'll have to see how the draft model pans out, but like you say, if Mitchell gets away early at the start, I mean, we're already playing down Fulvian here. Fulvian might have great race pace, and actually might be a 3-way battle up there.
He's a winner in World Championship Series competition. I mean, yes, admittedly, it was at quote-unquote that race at Indianapolis, but to win a World Championship Series race under any circumstance, you've got to be good.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of depth in that field is pretty impressive. I mean, when I look back at the qualifying results, and most grids are covered by less than a second to the top 25, so, you know, just taking out a couple of names, there's still some crazy fast guys out there, so to win a race is some achievement, and, you know, one I hope to do myself.
Now, very quickly, Daniel, we're going to show a lap of Mitchell de Jong, his pole position lap in just 1 moment's time. But there's 2 different, really, series in one going on here. There are some people who will be looking to get the championship. People like de Jong, people like Barazzini, Kirchhoff, Vaz, put Tanhote, Job, perhaps a couple of others into that mix. The others, their goal is simple. get in the top 25, get themselves a license, and focus on 2015.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you'll find the guys towards the end of the top 25 in qualifying today will be amongst that group. Looking at actually my fellow countryman Samuel Clark there in 20th, Marcus Caton, who's just dropped his WCS license in 19th as well. So, I mean, these guys are just want to get into the top 25 come the end of the season and then focus on next year.
So then we're going to have a look at a lap with Mitchell de Jong. And this is his pole position lap, so we'll get it up on your screen there. And Alex, he just was a pretty good lap there for de Jong. Crossing the start-finish line down into turn 1. We talked about how difficult these first couple of corners are.
Yeah, it's important to catch the apex on that turn 1, turn 2, so double apex corner there.
Work himself then down in towards turn number 2. You'll notice he slows that car down, uses quite a lot of that curb on the inside, then dances that car back to the outside, then back in, using that runoff on the exit of the corners. You'll see a lot of drivers do this one. Then as you come underneath the bridge there, this is where you really get the change from stop-start into flowing sequences of corners, Alex.
Yeah, that flowing corner, I mean, there's a lot of camber to be used there, and actually the very tight corner as well that Jimmy's coming up to now as well. That's important to catch the apex perfectly, and the camber just brings you around nice. So there's a lot of time to be had around this circuit, but just by catching the curbs right, they pull you around so much.
Then you down into the hairpin, onto the support pitch straight away, and you'll notice that you can't see the next corner. You come over the crest as you come underneath the Motegi bridge. Then, now you can finally see that next corner. It's the second slowest corner on the racetrack. You've really got to be good. Use a lot of that curve on the entry. Come underneath the Dunlop bridge. The oval's above you. Then you've got to have blind faith for these couple of corners. Those last couple of corners on the racetrack, Alex, they are incredibly scary. A lot of times we gained and lost, however.
That last complex really stumps me sometimes. I can go through there and be 2 or 3 tenths of a second quicker out of nowhere. And then the next 5 or 6 laps, I'm, half a second slower. It's such a tricky corner there. It's, yeah, I don't know what it is. I've never really been able to get the consistency through there that I've wanted, so I'm sure most of the other guys are struggling as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to prepare for race coverage. So we're going to step aside for just one moment, then we'll be back with the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing. You're watching RaceSpotTV, the home of the 2014 World Cup Finals.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93, 39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's going to be the race for the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you
Brad
love it.
Davies, here we go.
You love it. The 1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump for first place.
Four drivers embark on the first race of a 10-race campaign that will see them go to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Silverstone, Suzuka, Circuit of the Americas, Watkins Glen, VIR, Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, Road America and Interlagos. But first, they head to Twin Ring Motegi for the first round of the 2014 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Practice is just completed, and with that we'll very quickly head you down to your starting grid for this event, and you can see it's Mitchell de Jong, Fulvio Barazini on the front row of the grid, Ati Kurkov and Yal Vaz alongside them on row number 2. Row 3, Christian Tanahote and Sebastian Job, Patrick Holzman and Miguel Martin on the 4th row of the grid, with Rizky Iwasaki, Alexia Loma in row number 5. As the rest of the grid comes up on your screen, Will Vincent here along with Alex Simpson and Daniel Betterfield. Very quickly, Alex, great race up just ahead of us. Who do you think will take the win here today?
I think it's going to be between Mitchell and Atsi. Personally, I think Mitchell's going to have the edge. He's a little bit more accustomed to the car at the moment.
Well then, you can see there is your grid. We are just a couple of moments away from going racing for the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing here on RaceSpotTV. There you can see the field just lining up then, getting set to go racing. The first round of the championship starts right now. Great start there, buddy, on race team car, but Ati Kurkov just behind him. He was looking as though he's going to try and make a move down into that first corner. They are 2 wide down in the mid-pack, but it's de Jong leading from Kurkov. Kurkov right behind, able to get himself past Barazini in those first couple of corners, and Halvaz putting pressure on Barazini as well. But there's your top 4 or 5 drivers. Great start by the field there, Alex.
Yeah, good start. There was a tiny little bit of contact further back, but everybody survived. A couple of cars just going a little bit wide now, jostling for position, going into turn 4 here.
Big. They're almost 3 wide down in the mid-pack there, as you see up above. Most of these drivers have been able to get through without any incident, but they remain 3 wide as they work themselves down into the S's for the first time. 64 laps worth of racing. Mitchell de Jong has led the first half of them there, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. Mitchell de Jong got the perfect launch off the line, made sure he outdid Barazini and slowly crept the car right to defend his position into turn 1. Now he's just pulled a little bit of a gap over Atsi Kurkov, who stole second from Barazini off the start.
So there your top 4 or 5 drivers is at the rear of the field. You still got yourself a little bit of 2 wide racing with right along board then with Emil Henriksen for Vergil Racing. You can see they're 2 wide ahead of him, but Henriksen right now got himself a little bit of a scrap going on for himself and Ricky Kozari as they work themselves now down towards this very tight corner for the first time. Henriksen trying to make a move down to the inside of the car ahead of him, which is Samuel Clark, nowhere near close enough to do so. Crazy first lap of the season, but de Jong will be classified with winning the first, with leading the first of these laps, and he's got himself so far a nice little gap of 1 second to Ati Kurkov. That is exactly what he needed, Alex.
Yeah, exactly that. Breaks away from the draft already. It's important not to let Atsi get within that. Like I say, it doesn't suck you up to the car in front a lot now, so if you can keep him outside that 0.6 of a second barrier, then he's not going to be under too much threat.
Having a look down through the field, you've got a nice little scrap going on right now between Christian Tanahote, Patrick Holzman and Miguel Martin. This is about for P5, P6, P7 on the racetrack. as we get yourselves your ticket running along the bottom of your screen as we're riding out along board with Patrick Holzman in 6th position for Movano Thrustmaster Racing, as Tanahashi just ahead of actually at number 67 friction car, looking so that these are the drivers who's going to be scrapping for the top 5 all season. But these sequence of corners is so difficult. We talked about it in pre-race, Daniel. Got to get yourself a good run out of here if there's any chance of you making a pass down into the next corner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the trick to the setup around here is grip of the slow corners. I mean, there's so many of them here, and there's so many onto long straights where you can set up a pass into tighter corners again. So it's so crucial getting a good run off the slower corners here.
Well, let's have a look through the field. We've got a nice little scrap with Michel Mancusi in the Leo Bodnar car, as he has got just ahead of him on the racetrack. That is David Core right now as we ride along board with Sebastian Job even in the number 78 car, and David Core was just ahead of Michel Mancusi just behind. Mancusi looking as though he's putting pressure on Job right now in that battle outside of your top 15. We'll cycle our camera around, Alex. But these guys, they just want to get themselves their first laps of their season campaign in the books.
Yeah, it looked like Seb had a few issues going into turn 2, ran a little bit wide, saw him going through the gravel there, so struggling a little bit. And I dare say there's a few different strategies out there being played out as well now. As
we just got side-by-side racing with Connor and also Hunter Manley there. I believe that Connor is able to get the position over Manley there. David Heisey there in the mix as well, as we ride along board with Heisey running himself in 23rd position in the Virgo racing car. The running racing machine of Connor just ahead, and then Hunter Manley actually is one who's able to get that position, bringing himself up to 21st position on the racetrack. So then, after the first couple of laps, it is this guy, Michel de Jong, who leads the way right now. And he was the 2014 Season 1 champion, Alex. So he's had the longest to wait of all of these drivers. And we have seen him in Pro Series, in WCS Series competition a little bit this year. But he's got himself a great, almost a flawless start to his season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2.4 seconds ahead already. I think he's probably on slightly less fuel than Kirchhoff at this point, because seems to be dropping a little bit back, Fulvian sticking with, so maybe it's just Kirchhoff going slightly heavier. So we'll see how that pans out. We've seen this from the red line drivers before, those 3 or 4 laps heavier and just pipping them with the overcut that we have now.
Yeah, and the overcut was such a big story of the 2014 World Championship campaign. Many different strategies going on. Will these guys do one? Will they do 2 strategies? One guy who is up a couple of positions since the lights went out to start this race is this guy, Benjamin Lindsay. He started in 11th and he's now running in the 8th spot on the racetrack, putting a lot of pressure on Miguel Martin ahead of him in the number 22 Radical Steel Series car, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the TNT race, I mean, we saw Benjamin Lindsay do a couple of WCS races this season, but he's really putting the pressure on Miguel Martin at the moment. Sort of struggling since he doesn't really have any of his teammates in TeamSpeak with him, helping him, since they've got Radicals Online. Also 3 teams in the Masters of Endurance 12 Hours of Road Atlanta at the moment. So Miguel Martin flying a bit solo at the moment in that Radicals car as it comes under pressure from Benjamin Lindsay. But he's also putting a bit of pressure on Holtzman ahead of him.
Yeah, as we're having a look then from the rear of Miguel Martin, there's Benjamin Lindsay back, just about 6 tenths of a second, and that is the gap you're talking about, Alex. That 6 tenths of a second gap is the magic number. You'll get the drafts and down to these straightaways, but that time, Lindsay only really gained a tenth. He's got to be a lot closer if you want to try and set up a pass.
Yeah, I think you're going to need to really get within that 4/10 window. That seems to be where the draft has the most effect. Right now, he's probably just getting a whole load of dirty air. It's not helping him at all. And in fact, it's making him just a little bit vulnerable to the car behind as well.
So to run through your top 10 as it stands right now, it is De Jong from Kirchhoff and Barazini from Vaz. Then it's Tanahote, Holzman, Martin, Lindsay and Iwasaki. And Aloma rounds out your top 10. Just outside your top 10 is Richard Avery, running along board with him right now as he's trying to close up to the rear of Alex Aloma. Now we'll get this graphic up on your screen here, Alex. You'll see the speed of these 2 drivers in kilometers an hour. And as we work ourselves down that very long back straightaway, you'll see just how much additional speed Avery will carry as they come down into that very difficult right-hander.
Yeah, I think Alexi's close enough to Iwasaki just ahead of him that he'll get a bit of draft as well. So might not be that much difference. It'll probably just be aero difference between them, but you can definitely see the closing speed here.
So 290 kilometers an hour then as they work themselves down into turn number 11, work themselves underneath the bridge. 13, 14 coming up now. That sequence of corners is so difficult. Aloma very heavy on the curb there as they complete their lap. This is a great scrap as they going on just outside of your top 10. Some very close gaps to start off this season. Just having a look just a little bit further ahead, Tanahote, Holzman and Martin, they continue to battle, but out front it is all about one driver. That is Mitchell de Jong, now with a 3.9 second gap over Ati Kirchhoff. And last time by Daniel, 126.7 for de Jong, 127.3 for Ati Kirchhoff.
Yeah, de Jong's definitely got the pace over Kirchhoff at the moment, but as Alex said earlier, it might be because he's running a little lighter on fuel. I mean, de Jong didn't do the Motegi race here in WCS, so we're not sure what type of what type of strategy de Jong's playing at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up compared to Kirchhoff. I mean, we know he has pace from his performances in WCS this year.
Having a look from the rear of Yuri Lienko in the friction racing car. Now, he had his teammate Frank Levesque the fourth side by side of him at the start of this lap, and what that's done is he's now put Levesque right under pressure from David the Corpse and Dimitris Yanis. I'm not quite sure if that was going to be a little bit of team play going the wrong way there, Alex.
Yeah, it's always tricky in these early goings when you've got your teammates in close proximity. Of course, the main thing you want to do is not hit them, and it can put you a little bit vulnerable to the guys behind. And I think perhaps Frank just struggling with that. He perhaps wants to get a little move on, and he can't do it. Needs to wait for the right time. And the guys, that there's such a big pack behind them, there's no way they can afford to let either one by at this point, because they're just going to both be mugged, I think.
Alexi Aloma has now been able to get himself past Richard Avery, so now he is up into the 10th position. So having a look from the rear then of that Glacier racing car, and it's now Risky Urisaike who's ahead of him on the racetrack. Great little scrap going on here. Aloma back up into the 10th position. That is where he started. And for Aloma so far, of course, he had a very difficult 2014 World Championship campaign, as here comes Avery trying to make a move back down the inside. Not the easiest place in the world to do it, but Benefield, he is really going on it, is Richard Avery right now.
Yeah, Richard Avery took a full advantage of Aleski Aloma getting a little wide through turn 5 there, so I completely forgot who I was talking about. Richard Avery, sorry. Got a lot better drive out of the corner, and he got very close to the back of Aloma there, going into the hairpin. It looks like Avery's got speed over Aloma, he just can't get past at the moment.
As we're having a look at the replay then, on board with Avery, you can see the two almost made contact, so Avery really is pushing hard now in this battle for position. This is 10th and 11th spots on the racetrack, but out front, de Jong now with a 5-second advantage. And I am going to definitely agree with you here, Alex. To do a lap 6 times per second fast and Ati Kirchhoff, lap 8 in the race, definitely going to be some form of fuel, different issue there with fuel.
Yeah, it has to be a different strategy playing out there. I mean, Motegi's a funny track. I think you can even go as far as to 3-stop this place. So let's see if Mitchell's gone for something like that. We've seen drivers do that in the past. I think Martin Kroenke did that at Okayama, if my memory serves me correct. Didn't work out for him that day, got caught in traffic. So let's see what's playing out here. I mean, it could be as simple as Mitch is on a 2-stop while Kirchhoff has got some amazing pace and on a 1-stop.
Benjamin Lindsay going side by side with Miguel Martin. Lindsay sweeps around the outside of him, moves himself up 1 position. Great little pass there. Benjamin Lindsay also possibly on this alternate strategy, Daniel, because the way he breezed past Miguel Martin there definitely showed he had a lot of speed coming out of 4.
I tell you what, that move just then sort of reminded me of WCS here, where if, with Ollie Piccolo going around, our fellow commentator here, Alex Simpson, may not want to remind him of that one, but awesome move by Benjamin Lindsay there.
So Lindsay now up into the 7th spot on the racetrack from where he started. He did lose a couple of positions early, worked himself back up. And this is now the scrap for P6, 7, 8 on the racetrack, because just ahead is Christian Tanahote in the Friction racing car. New liveries for that Friction team, actually, as they now come down to pass the start-finish line once again. Just a little bit further back, we want to let you know that everyone is still running on a very difficult racetrack. That's a great thing to see. All 34 drivers still in this event. Last one of those is, unfortunately, one of the hometown heroes, Takahiro Ushiwaka, in the number 64 car, running in the last spot for the time being, Alex.
Yeah, Ishwaka are struggling just a little bit out there at the moment. I don't think he'll mind me saying, but I'm pretty sure he's one of the oldest guys on the grid at the moment, so fair play to him getting involved and in the Pro Series. Sure he's having a lot of fun out there regardless of where he is.
And of course, the youngest driver in this series is one of your guys, Alex, who's Sebastian Job.
Yeah, Sebastian, very young. I think I was trying to pitch him to get into one of the World Championship races last season because I wanted him to be the youngest one on the grid on the road side. I think he's 14 years old now.
He is very young, is Job. Job, however, is not having the day he necessarily would have wanted, as we get him up on your screen. He's lost himself at 9 spots since the start of this race, so tough start there for that number 78 car, Daniel, but still a long time to try and bounce back.
Yeah, he sort of ran into a bit of an issue coming off turn 2 on the first lap, and that sort of dropped them back to Sebastian Job. So hopefully he won't lose hope and keep fighting on. I mean, we know after qualifying 6 that he does have some pace, and he should be looking forward for the rest of the season, because I reckon he's going to be a real competitor.
Benjamin Lindsay is now caught right up to the rear of Christian Tanahote in this battle for 6th place on the racetrack. So you have a look then from the rear of Christian Tanahote's car, and Lindsay is just flying right now, Alex.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's on some
he's gone.
Alternate
He's
strategy straight up the inside there. That is so tricky to do that corner. You don't understand how much the car just wants to pick away there. So to have the confidence to put the power down there and just drive through, that's amazing overtake, that one.
He manages to make it work down the inside. We'll get ourselves a replay of that one then on board with Benjamin Lindsay. Again, this is just showing the sheer overspeed you have if you're carrying less fuel in your car, Daniel. He gets himself nicely set up through turns 2 and 3, and then just by the time it's into 4, round the outside, picture perfect.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure it's pretty safe to say now Benjamin Lindsay's on the 2-stop, and just by the way Christian Tarantone was placing his car, it looks like he wasn't really going to fight Ben then. So I'd say Christian will probably be on a 1-stop, as he's got Miguel Martin really behind him now as he has a look, but he doesn't go ahead with the move.
And there you can see your race leader, Mitchell de Jong, now with a 6.3 second advantage over Ati Kirchhoff. Now, de Jong's last lap time is a 1 minute 26.670. His last 2 laps have actually been within 5/1000ths of a second, so great consistency there, but still is lapping 6/10ths of a second faster than Ati Kirchhoff, who runs himself in 2nd place right now for your field. There you can see Ati Kirchhoff with himself and now a 2.1 second advantage over Fulvio Barrazzini. There you can see Barrazzini. And then 4th place, we haven't yet spoken about him, but Galvaz is in that 4th spot, doing a nice little job, just keeping himself out of issues right now, Alex.
Yeah, I'd like to say we haven't really spoken too much about him at all, but yeah, good strong position, 4th place at the moment, just 9 seconds behind the leader, lapping sort of in the low 127s. Looks like a pretty strong performance. He's got Fulvian in range, depending on what these guys do with the fuel strategy, could well get the overcut, so we'll keep an eye on those guys. I'm sure it's going to be quite exciting to see what happens in the pit stop window.
And that's one of those things we are going to talk about all season long. Strategy. Can some of these guys outthink their opponents? As we saw that so often, especially in the second half of the World Championship Series, Alex. These guys, they will set their cars up to run the most often when it is strongest. Now, historically for Commander, that will be at the start of a run. For Redline, it will be late in the run. So therefore, for some of these guys, they will know that they've got short-term pace. Therefore, they might actually be better off getting themselves on a 2-stop strategy when everyone's doing 1, or a 3-stop strategy when everyone else is doing 2.
Yeah, exactly that. I think you've got to go to what benefits your car, really. I know I've sacrificed my strategies just because the car works a little bit better on the light fuel at some races. Might not necessarily be the quickest strategy or going to give you race position at the end, but you've got to be confident, you've got to feel the car underneath you. That way you get that much more confidence and you end up having much better results.
Having a look on board, David Heisey in the Virgo Racing cars. He's trying to close down Tomohiki Kono in this battle for 19th position on the racetrack. There you can see the gap to the lead. P20 already 38 seconds behind your overall race leader. But there you can see Kono just ahead. About 4/10ths of a second is the gap between these two drivers on the racetrack right now, Daniel. But a nice little scrap going on all the way through the field of some of these drivers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we see a similar thing in WECS. I mean, these guys just end up racing you'll find these guys will end up racing the similar guys each and every week, just similar pacing. I mean, it's amazing how these that you can see the sort of combinations come out over a season. So I reckon we may see these two, Connor and Heisey, that is, very close together over the duration of the season.
Looking on board with Miguel Martin, number 22, Radical's online car, as he's got himself Alexi Loma just a little bit further back. Now, this is one battle I think we will see all season. Glacier Racing and Alexi Loma with that of Miguel Martin in the Radical's car. And some of these battles, Alex, have rolled over from the World Championship Series. People like Martin, Aloma, Iwasaki, the Corps, they have already been battling with each other in the World Championship Series. What we forget is that there's been a whole sequence of battles as well in the iRacing.com Grand Prix Series, which has kind of been going on over a year, maybe a little bit more, where as drivers have got their pro license, they step aside from the Grand Prix Series, and then these battles have just renewed themselves again for the first time in almost a year.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point. It's good to pick up on what's gone on in the the Class A Grand Prix Series as well. Guys battled hard through Season 1 and Season 2 and sort of left the car alone. We haven't seen Miguel Martin for quite a while. Personally, it's great to see him back in the car. I know he qualified with the first season I joined the Grand Prix Series, so it's great to see him back in the car. And I think a lot of rivalries just have renewed themselves in this Pro Series.
But there is one battle which is just calmed down for the time being. That was with Benjamin Lindsay and Christian Tanahote. Now Tanahote down into 7th position. The next victim for Lindsay is going to be Patrick Holzman as it stands right now. We're having a look at the gap. It's about 1.5 seconds between the Movano Racing Team and TNT Racing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, but this really is the first time we're going to see TNT Racing being competitive in the top level series for almost 2 years now. Of course, Movano Racing, they had an up and down season in this year's WCS campaign. It'll be very interesting to see how TNT Racing can do, because really they had a program and then it kind of disappeared this past year.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not really sure quite what happened to them. I mean, they've got a strong team. Certainly one. When I just look, Mivano got like Tommy Nilsson, Patrick. Just trying to think of who else is in there as well. I'm thinking Tommaso Carlo. I think he missed qualifying.
Rocco Baroni as well.
Yeah. Oh well, no. Rocco just left. He just moved to Coanda, didn't he? So
yes.
Never mind. Got even stronger. But yeah, so they've got amazing strength and depth, and I expect them to be pushing up the front towards the end of this season. I mean, I know Tommy's not been around as much, and he's was with Twister Racing before, so got a lot of experience there. I expect they'll be quite strong throughout this season and certainly next year in the World Championship Series as well.
Tommy Nilsson also got possibly some of the best hair in the World Championship Series and in the Pro Series. But just having a look, this battle now, the gap is now down to 1.3 seconds on the racetrack. Mitchell de Jong's last lap time, he is your leader. Gap is now up to 8.3 seconds on the racetrack. Last time by, he was able to do a 126.3. Now, it does seem to be every single lap, Alex, he is half a second faster. But we need to have a look at his times just before he comes onto pit road, then see how much he can then gain back in those laps surrounding it. Now, if it's going to be de Jong and a 3-stopper, Kirchhoff and a 2-stopper, de Jong needs overall 25 seconds. At the moment, he's kind of close to that window. It'll be about 24-25 seconds as it stands right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the times. I'm almost convinced they're on different strategies now. We're looking at a window between lap 20 to 25 for the 2-stoppers and around sort of mid-30s for the 1-stops. So there's not going to be a great deal of time difference between them. I mean, 50% the tyres, the way you have to run the 50% strategies now. Otherwise, they just fall off where we used to run sort of 60-70% race distances before. So there's not going to be a huge drop-off. It's all going to be at track position. Right now, I'm not sure quite who's in the driving seat. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Can I just say, Alex, that quote that you just mentioned, I think that's why we see the 2-stop strategies come out more often now, particularly in WCS, is the fact that you guys can't run 60 to 70% into the first stint now. Instead of trying to manage 50-50, you got it. And correct me if I'm wrong here, do you guys run the 2-stop strategy to have a more consistent tyre over the race?
I we certainly used to with the last build. This one's quite different actually. I did a little bit of running in the Grand Prix series just last week just to get a feel what was going on with the tyre. And it seems like the fall off goes to a point and then it equalises out. So certainly the 50-50 is definitely a more viable strategy than it was, say, in the World Championship series. So I think there's a few guys out there today in this race trying to pull off a 50-50. But much more than that, and then the weight of the car just basically slows you down too much, and the tyre just sort of gives up a little bit on you, and you don't gain as much. So Motegi, definitely you want to be as light as you can as well. So the 50-50 could work out quite nicely.
Having a look at the sector times for Ati Kirchhoff right now in second place. Saw a little bit earlier on. For those of you who are new to Pro Series competition, Ati Kirchhoff came second in the 2013 Eisen.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. However, then took a year off to do some Formula 3 racing in Europe. He's now back in the Pro Series as he continues his charge to make himself back up into World Championship Series competition, coming through the final couple of corners. We'll keep an eye on his lap time the next time he comes to our start-finish line. Is a 1:26.5 last time by for De Jong, a 1:27.3 for Kirchhoff. Let's see what time he does as he comes past the start-finish line. Ati Kirchhoff, a 1:26.7, a little bit better. In fact, that time he was only 0.2 of a second slower than De Jong. All of a sudden, Kirchhoff is powering forward, but that gap is already 10 seconds on the racetrack. To come back to that time management thing we were just talking about there, Alex, is that now that point that Ati has been running to a number, now all of a sudden he knows he's only maybe got about 7-8 laps left in his tyres, that he starts to blitz it?
Well, actually, I think this is more what you're seeing by the tyre wear rates equalising. I think the tyre's just not going to be as good on Mitchell's car. He's burnt off all the decent rubber now. Atsy's fuel load's coming down, so the time difference just starts to come down. I mean, like I say, my experience was only of Watkins, and Watkins obviously is a very nice track for this car, but for sure I expected to be sort of 3/4 of a second faster at the end of my 2-stop strategy stints, but was only about 2 or 3 tenths. So I think this is what we're starting to see, and this is where the 1-stop 50% strategy really starts to come into its own.
So there is your race leader, Mitchell De Jong, as he completes his 17th lap of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for just 30 seconds time, and we'll be right back with continuing coverage here on RaceSpotTV. You're watching the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing. Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit later on, RaceSpotTV provides coverage of the Group C tournament for the 2014 World Cup of iRacing. Along with BSR TV, V8 Online and the Global Sim Racing channel, we are, as a collective, bringing you coverage of all of the tournaments created here this week. And then next week, RaceSpotTV will be your official home, the 2014 World Cup final of iRacing. And very quickly, Daniel, this is one of the favourite times of years for iRacers because it's that time that you get to put in a little bit of club pride, go on to try, and I say try, to dethrone Club DH.
Yes, it definitely is. I mean, DH is one of the strongest clubs in iRacing's history, so it'll be good to see if some of the bigger clubs like Australia and New Zealand can overthrow one of the biggest and most successful clubs in iRacing.
Right now, actually, we've got ourselves a bit of a battle between Club Brazil and Club UK and Ireland. That is going over with our friends over at BSR TV. So after this race, go and check out their coverage. I'm sure it is just as good as ours. And then, as I say, later on this evening, the Global Sim Racing channel, we're bringing you coverage of the Group D race. We've got ourselves, Alex, Club Finland, Club Scandinavia, Iberia, Club Northwest and Club West are in battle. And it's an event that really Club Finland should win, but Iberia really are the outside second favourites to that event. Alex hasn't heard a word I said, so we're going to move on to ride along board with Miguel Martin in the number 22 car. Coming back down into the S's, 19 laps will be scored complete this time by. And Alex, this is the question that you will be aware of. Pit stops for two-stop strategy, well, they'll be coming up in the next 3 to 4 laps time.
Yeah, I think from our personal calculations here, our strategist was reckoning about 23 for the optimal straight two-stopper, so we could see anyone in, like I say, 2 or 3 laps before that and maybe 2 or 3 after.
David Corpse running right behind Risku Irisaki as it's Orion Racing versus Ronin Racing. And big congratulations, by the way, to Orion Race Team for what was a great 17 hours of their 24 hours of Spa before it all went wrong as the car flew out of the air. But David Corpse looking to try and bounce back right now. Currently scored in 12th position on the racetrack. We are keeping an eye out on pit road. As soon as we see pit stops, we will let you know. And of course, we are keeping an eye out to see whether De Jong is indeed on a separate strategy from Kirchhoff. The gap is now 10.5 seconds as it stands on the racetrack between these guys. And it brings me back to another point here, Alex. Some of these guys will be going for the championship. Other guys will literally just be going to get themselves a world championship license. And there is one driver whose name is just skipped my mind, who, when it was Ferrari Racing, found a way, Azura Racing even, found a way to just finish races getting himself a world championship license. He wasn't the fastest guy by any means of the word. However, finishing races is important here. And that is why I think we've seen such low attrition in this first race of the season. Everyone's still circulating, knowing that by keeping your car clean, actually you might still have a shot of getting yourself that prestigious WCS license.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the driver's name right now, actually. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. I know who you mean, but you are right. There's a couple of different sort of tasks out there that the guys will be looking to do. Those will just want to be in next year's World Championship. They'll drive safe, be conservative, won't risk anything for sure. And then there's guys, you know, who'll be looking at the prize pool that is up for grabs on this Pro Series and think, you know what, I can get myself some credits. And we'll be trying to get, you know, make a statement for next year's World Championship, finishing in that top 5.
2 drivers currently scored 1 lap down. This is one of them, Yevgeny Kutkov in the Virgil Racing number 77 car as he works himself now 1 lap down to your overall race leader, which remains Mitchell de Jong, as they can see Kutkov and they can see Mitchell de Jong in the Orion Racing car. The other driver scored 1 lap down is Irisaka, and in fact he is on pit road. I believe that he might be out of the race, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. He's been there a little while now, so I'm not sure if he's calling it a day or what he's doing.
Yeah, he's not in the car either, just having a look now. So I'm guessing that's the end of his road today.
But de Jong, 21 laps scored complete. That pit window for a 2-stop strategy is now firmly open. So we'll keep an eye out on de Jong. Will he come onto pit road this time by as we ride along board of him? And he will turn right here, so he will stay on for another lap. 21 laps scored complete for Mitchell de Jong as he completes another here at Twin Win Motegi. This schedule as well, Alex, it's incredibly tough. When you talk about pushing drivers to their limits, in just 7 days' time, they'll be at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We know how tough that racetrack is.
Oh yeah, that is one of the setup important tracks. You know, you have to get the car absolutely dialed in over all of those curbs. Car suffers a little bit from what the guys like to call pogo, and if you can't dial that out, you might as well not turn up, because it's so difficult to drive, having to bash over those curbs left, right and centre.
And of course, you've got the Wall of Champions. Ray Alfaro was the first person on iRacing to actually hit the Wall of Champions. That was in the All-Star race a couple of years ago now. So having a look from the rear of Fulvio Barazzini to Hal Vaz, the gap is now down to about 1.1 seconds on the racetrack. And actually last time by it was a 126.8 for Barazzini, 126.9 for Vaz. But Vaz has been a couple of tenths of a second quicker on his fastest lap of the race. So we'll bear that one in mind as we get closer and closer to pit stops. And there you can see once again Mitchell de Jong, and some of these guys now will be looking to try and get themselves as close to their competitors as possible, Alex, because the easiest way of making up spaces, well, that's get them on pit stops.
Yeah, to be fair, here it's very difficult, and we, Apex Racing UK,
de Jong's
always look.
Jump.
Yeah, we always look at the strategy. It's so much easier to make moves and know what you've got to do as far as the pit stops, drive to the numbers in the first stint, see what happens, and then you try and battle hard, perhaps in, say, like the second or third stint, or just the second if you're doing a 1-stop.
So Mitchell de Jong is in for the first pit stop of the season. Let's get the time up. He overshoots his box actually a little bit as well, so that will cost him about 2 seconds. We'll have a look at the time as he's coming. If he comes out in traffic, this could be a game changer. 11.2 seconds out and away from Mitchell de Jong, but that was a bad pit stop there. Potentially the nerves getting to him, Daniel.
Yeah, oh, that was very close to Richard Avery there as well as he came out. So de Jong probably not where he wants to be right now, considering if he didn't miss his pit stall, then he'd probably be ahead of Richard Avery right now.
As we've also got Benjamin Lindsay on pit road. They see 9.5 seconds to him, so 3 seconds lost then overall for your previous race leader de Jong. It's David de Corp to Ryan Race Team in as well, in and out in 9 seconds. So arguably 2.5 seconds there cost by de Jong. That could be the race, because as we just saw, he came out right behind Richard Avery. So de Jong now has to push it, but will have a slower car due to all of that fuel in his race car right now, Alex.
Yeah, that's always the tricky point. You come out, you're heavy, you want to get into clean air. If anything, I expect Richard probably to pull away here. There's not too much he's going to do. I would be more concerned in his position right now would be that Miguel Martin will want to try and get past. That in its own is going to cost him time. He can't afford time right now. I'm pretty sure Atsi is on that one-stop strategy, so he really needs to bang the laps in with the fresh tyres now.
And there we ride along board with Miguel Martin in the number 22 car as he comes himself down into the complex. Turns number 12, 13, 14 on the racetrack, and thankfully for him, Miguel Martin hits pit road this time by. That was a bit of a break there for de Jong, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, de Jong's not going to be under any pressure from behind now, which will probably help him, considering he'll be heavier on fuel compared to the rest of the field.
So Martin in towards pit road. Let's get a look at his pit stop as pit stops continue here at Motegi. Miguel Martin, we expect it to be in the 9-second-ish range. Here's a long stop, 10.1 seconds out and away there for Miguel Martin. Potentially an extra couple of laps of fuel, Alex, you think, to try and get himself more strategy later on?
Yeah, I think so. It looks like he realised that he was going perhaps a little bit shorter than Richard ahead of him, so thinking, right, I'm going to try and eke a bit of extra fuel in this time and see if I can't get the overcut next time.
You've got Samuel Clark now on pit road, Dave Seaman, the TNT racing car. You've also got David Heisey on pit road, who's just come out, and Sebastian Dunkel on pit road. As Clark 9.6 seconds, Dunkel a 10.1 second stop as he is now out and away. So really we've got ourselves two very different strategies here, Daniel. Some people on a one-stopper by the looks of it, because we're only about 5 laps away from a pure one-stop strategy. Others clearly on a two-stopper.
Yeah, definitely, as Joel Vaz is now in the pit lane as well, Will.
So this will be interesting. Vaz, of course, he comes in actually before Fulvio Barrazzini, and we were talking about how he's putting pressure on Barrazzini in those last couple of laps. So this will be an interesting one for Vaz, because I think actually he really should have been a little bit faster, Alex, if he wanted to get himself anything good out of this race. Arguably, this could cost him a shot at the top 5.
Yeah, let's see where he comes out in relation to the others. Obviously, if he's got that one stop... Oh! That was lucky. He just about gathered that back up. That could have been in the wall so quickly. I think he's got a couple of one-stoppers just behind him, actually. So he's, you know, I don't think it's going to pan out too bad for him. He's going to made good track position, qualified well, so he was able to put those laps in. I think he's going to still finish quite comfortably in the top 5, maybe even in that 4th position still.
So we're going to have a look then. This is what went wrong for Hal Vaz. You can see that car just gets loose as it comes out of pit road. He was actually perpendicular to the wall there. Thankfully, he was able to get himself with enough room in the fast lane, but that almost could have been his first round of the championship done and dusted, Alex.
Yeah, not what you want to do. I mean, it is important to get out of the pit lane as quickly as possible. Valuable time is made and gained during that pit. That's the one thing we can do as drivers, is nail the in and the out part of it, and it was on the very, very edge there. In the end, I think it probably cost him just a little bit of time. This
is your new race leader, Atsi Kirchhoff, now led 4 laps of today's event. Fulvio Barrazzini just behind him, about 5 seconds down on the racetrack as it stands right now. There you can see confirmation, Barrazzini in the Triple M car as Kirchhoff works himself back down towards turn 2. Now, there is traffic ahead of Kirchhoff, and one of the things that we need to remind new viewers to the series is that blue flag rules are in operation, Daniel, for World Championship and Pro Series events. Unlike in comparison to normal iRacing.com event, there is basically drivers have to move out of the way when they see the blue flags, and that time does look as though that Kirchhoff got a little bit bolt as he came up behind Dunkel. this could be one of those things, your first race with these new regulations, you've got to remember, actually, you have got to move out the way when those blue flags come out.
Yeah, definitely. Kirchhoff actually got really sideways coming off turn 5 there, which may have been partly why he took so long to pass Donkel there. But this traffic is really hurting Kirchhoff now. It's helping De Jong out in the overall race, I reckon, compared to Kirchhoff. So I reckon he lost probably 1 or 2 seconds behind that traffic there, Will.
I'll make it about 0.9. We'll get confirmation of their lap times the next time they come past Kirchhoff to Barazini's. We're having a look now on board with Sebastian Job in the Apex Racing number 78 car as they work themselves back down towards turn number 9. Sebastian is currently battling with Uros Lienko in the Friction Racing number 71 car. Now, I won't lie to you, Alex, I haven't really heard or seen much about Lienko before. Drives for Friction Racing, which of course means he's got to be a good driver to be able to have a place in a team as such, but doing a sterling job running in the top 10 in his first Pro Series race.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a good job. Obviously, I know what strategy Seb's on, and it's no lie to nothing given away to say that he's on a one-stopper right this point. And I think both drivers are. So Seb needs to obviously get up to him and get past as quickly as possible. I think he sat there thinking he was on a two-stop and perhaps caught him out a little bit, and now he needs to start putting the pressure on him.
As there you can see another driver on pit road. It's our Vortex Sim Racing driver of Dimitri Yanis coming out of pit road. Pit stop time for him, 8.9 seconds. One of the fastest we've seen so far today, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. So shorter middle stint for Yanis now. So we should see him in within the next 20 laps or so. So a shorter stint. Maybe he's trying to, not sure who he's racing. So maybe he's trying to jump someone or falling behind someone. Not really sure, Will.
As Emil Henriksen also making a pit stop right along board of him. 10.7 stop for him. That's just outside of your one-stop window, Alex. So for Henriksen, yes, it's a longer stop. Do you think maybe he might just have enough to get to the end?
It's asking quite a lot, I have to say. I think he's perhaps thought, I'll just go really, really long and do 2 real short stints there. Certainly going to have struggled in those early laps, I think. But knowing that other people might have been on a one-stop, perhaps a bit of a safe call, I think.
Kirchhoff continues to lead as actually just outside of our screens we have seen Barazini come onto pit road, so he's now down into the 5th spot on the racetrack. Pit stop time for Barazini, 9.3 seconds. So some of these one-stoppers are now committing to making their stop. And this comes back to that 50% rule you were talking about a little bit earlier on, that these tyres will just fall away. So arguably we have got to be seeing Kirchhoff onto pit road in the next couple of laps, currently working himself through 7 and 8. And Alex, could be time for Kirchhoff to having to start to hear the music. His last lap time of 126.4. Compare that to what your race leader previously was doing, De Jong. He did a 126.7. So Kirchhoff hasn't been gaining much at all.
No, I think traffic's really hurting him here. Just the last lap, I think, was a 127, so he lost time to Mitchell. So he really needs to get through this traffic as quickly as possible. Right now, strategy not working quite as he would hoped.
As a little bit of looseness there for Kirchhoff. Will he come in this time by? The answer is yes. We'll keep our ticker on there so you can see how this gap closes down. But Kirchhoff now, well, he's definitely going to lose the race lead here, Daniel, because it's about a 20-second pit load here. But De Jong looking as though he's going to come back to the race front. And the thing is, though, De Jong's still going to have about a 10-second advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he hasn't really lost as much as we thought he would have, has Mitchell De Jong. I think, as Alex said just before, the traffic's really hurt Kirchhoff throughout the what would be the overcut of his stint.
So there you can see Mitchell De Jong back out onto the racetrack, and just about here you'll be able to see Ati Kirchhoff just working behind the fence there, and he's down into 2nd place right now. It was for him a pit stop time of 8.7 seconds, so pretty fast stop. I'm not sure. Is that going to be enough to get him to the end of the race, Alex?
No, that's definitely an extended 2-stop there. I think, again, he's decided to sort of see what others are doing, play it safe somewhere in between. He could extend it if he wanted to, but he's decided to go with the 2-stop. So he's going to be light now, so of course he's going to start to close in on Mitchell, I'm sure. But yeah, I think perhaps a little bit too heavy in that first stint.
So, first round of pit stops complete then for De Jong and Kirchhoff. Currently in the third place is Christian Tanahote, as he hasn't yet made a pit stop for Friction Racing. Lap number 29 of 64, very close to that one-stop window. It's going to be the case of, will Tanahote have enough fuel to get himself firmly into that window, Daniel? And if he does, will he actually try and go for a one-stopper? Because if he does, I think he might easily be able to get a top 5 out of this, if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, definitely, because I think it's not only him. I think his teammate as well, Yelenko, is also on a one-stop strategy, because I'm pretty sure he hasn't pitted either. So I think the Friction Racing guys have rolled the dice a bit here and gone for a one-stop strategy.
Yeah, Iwasaki, I think, on a one-stop as well. So really starting to see the different strategies now.
As there you can see, Tanahote gap to the race leaders, like 11.7 seconds. There you see Iwasaki about a third but 1 second back, right along board now with the running racing driver in the number 54 machine. Last time by for him, it's a 126.9. So this is the thing, Alex. They're not losing buckets load of time to a race leader, especially at this stage of the race. Only 13 seconds back. If everyone else is going to have to make another pit stop, these guys could be right there in the mix come the last couple of laps of this event.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the slight changes to the tyres have really made this sort of one-stop strategy work. And, you know, when you test, say, 5 or 6 laps and you think, oh, look at the time, it's 7 or 8 tenths slower, then you think, well, bam, it's got to be a two-stop. But those guys that have tested it through the whole stint, I think that's where you see the equalising sort of fall-off on the tyre. And this is why these guys have decided to go for this strategy. I think Christian's in a really, really strong place right now.
So then, out of your top 10, De Jong has pitted, as has Kirchhoff. Tanahote hasn't pitted. Isawaki hasn't pitted. Barazini has, and so has Vaz. Sebastian Job hasn't pitted. Yurisienko hasn't pitted. Patrick Holzman and Benjamin Lindsay each have pitted. Keep an eye out on Tanahote. Will he come onto pit road this time by? No. So, he will pit at the very earliest at the end of lap number 32. That will put him into one-stop territory. The same goes as Iswaki in the 54 car. There you can see him up on your screen representing running racing. Sebastian Job, we know he's on a one-stop strategy. Patrick Holzman also on a one-stop strategy for Movano Racing. So, Patrick Holzman, I take that back. He's on a two-stop strategy. It is Yurisienko there for Friction Racing, who is on the one-stopper. The question now is can't really be naivety, because we've got De Jong and Kirchhoff, two people in established teams who are on this two-stop strategy. But is this just some of these people trying to get an early advantage psychologically in this series now, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, from the front, you would normally choose perhaps a two-stop here at Motegi. I mean, it is traditionally the fastest strategy, so I can see why these guys have run it up. I am surprised that it actually runs so heavy in that first stint. He's let Mitchell really get away in front, where he could have perhaps put him under a little bit of pressure earlier on. So I am surprised to see him run a little bit long. Those that are running the one-stop, I think they're going to have good races when it comes to sort of the finish line. So I don't think it's so cut as it used to be. Sorry, a little bit tongue-tied there, but yeah, I think we're in for a bit of a treat towards the end of this race, actually, with how these both are going to pan out.
And to give you a list there, you can see your top 10 drivers and their pit stop times, if they have made any. You'll notice De Jong very slow there, almost 3 seconds slower than what Kirchhoff was able to do. We'll cycle it through, and there you can see the rest of the drivers on one-stoppers compared to two-stoppers. Don't see anyone coming onto pit road this time by. So really, we are clearly into one-stop window territory for these guys like Tanahote and Iwasaki. I'm just saying, look, they're only 12-13 seconds back, so there is still a lot to be played for here, as I think that is Job looking down to the inside, or one of the Friction Racing drivers who'll be on the outside into the next corner. We're right on board with Job. Are they almost free wide going down into that corner? I think they almost were at one point.
Yeah, they were very close. Well, Holtzman thought about it, and then thought about it again, and thought that wasn't the best idea to make at this stage, as Holtzman's all over the back of Yelenko right now, coming into turn 7.
Yeah, so we'll get ourselves another look at this one as replay's up on your screen. And there you can see for one moment they almost went free wide. Then Job decided he was going to go around the outside. Holtzman falls back into line, dances around the outside as they come down in towards turn number 4. Move Job up one place on the racetrack. Move Yenko down one position. Great little bit of racing going on there, as we are, of course, keeping our eye out on this pit window for some of the guys outside of your top 2. As we can see now, pit road becoming a much busier place, because here you can see some of the one-stoppers on towards pit road, and that is Christian Tannerhout onto pit road, and just behind him you've got Arasaki onto pit road as well, Alex.
Yeah, perfect one-stop strategy being played out here, almost 50, well, bang on 50%. It looks like Sebastian going one extra lap as well, so saved a little bit of fuel. Clearly making that extra one lap.
Tannerhout, 12.4 seconds, and he is out and away. Arasaki, 12.6, coming out pretty much nose to tail. There you can see Yuristiyenko on pit road as well. Frank Levette, the 4, so all the friction racing pretty much in on the same lap. Yenko out and away, 12.4 seconds. Levesque, he's just topping up with fuel as we speak. And we've got Michel Mancusi on pit road as well. 12.2 seconds for Levesque. Mancusi, a long stop, 15 seconds for him. But he is now out and away. We have got confirmation the running racing driver has now finally retired from this event. As we've got Yuri Kutskanov on pit road. He's had a long stop, over 5 minutes there, Alex.
Yeah, I think that's something we see with the new feature where the car can stay on pit lane while the driver carries on spectating the race. So a little bit strange to see him parked up there without a driver in it, but plays havoc with us in the box, I'm sure. But yeah, sure, he's out.
And Diego Oliveira also out of pit road as well, in arguably the best looking livery of today, Alex.
Yeah, just bringing Diego up on screen now. Yeah, that's I have to say that's a pretty epic job. It's not easy to line up the paint so well there, but all those little lines over there look like they're just about perfect. So whoever's done that paint scheme needs a pat on the back, because that's a great one.
10 out of 10 for them. Oliveira, unfortunately, down in the 31st position on the racetrack. Just having a look, we've got 1 or 2 other drivers on pit road, and there you can see Yop now on pit road for Apex Racing UK. Let's get a look at his pit time then, 7.9 seconds and counting, and this is going to be again about a 12.6 second stop. He is out and away. You've also got Como on pit road for Running Racing, making his first pit stop and only pit stop of the day. He is now out and away. You've got Hunter Manley there for Apex Racing just coming on to pit road. And Tommy Nielsen has just made his stop. He is back out and away. 12.4 second stop from the Movano race team car. Meglek on pit road for Falcon GP. As out and away will go Hunter Manley. A 12.5 second stop for him as he completes his service. And Meglek is now out and away in 12.3 seconds for Falcon GP. So that is now pretty much everyone doing their first pit stop, with the exception, I think, of one driver, which is this guy. That is Riccardo Cascari, somehow managing to go 35 laps into this event there, Daniel.
I think also Tommaso Cola hasn't pitted yet either, Will. I'm just looking at Tommaso as well.
You're right. You are right. So you see where both teammates as well from Movano Racing. So Movano Racing finding a way of going deep into this event. We do get word here that that Frostmaster team is going to come on towards pit road this time by some Movano Racing, stretching that fuel out all the way to the very, very end then, as finally Carla is onto pit road, Daniel.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that that Murano stayed out so long. I thought they would have lost so much time as Carla had a little bubble coming into the box there.
Yep, he's getting himself 4 fresh tyres though. He's getting his car serviced, as he will be out and away in about 1 second. So 11.4 seconds for him. So he gained about a second there overall. Right along board with him, we'll see where he kind of falls back out onto the racetrack. As actually, I believe his teammate has gone another lap. So 36 laps into this event there for Kochari. But we're having a look there at Carla, as he's just lost a position. He's going to lose another one just there. That's Michel Mancusi. He comes out just ahead of him, that Movano team. But of course, cold tyres now for Carla. That's going to allow Mancusi to easily slow it down the inside there, Alex.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit lighter on fuel at this point as well with Mancusi, so pretty straightforward overtake. Tomas probably knows it's better just to let him have it at this point, but he's coming back. Has a little look round the outside, late under braking. It's not easy. The tyres are just a little bit cold. We don't lose too much time, I have to say, on the out lap. It's just more a case of getting used to the fact that we've got a whole load more fuel on board.
As Carla wasn't able to get past Mancusi, so move him down into the 21st position. If you want some comparison, by the way, he is still up 15 spots since where he started this race, so great job by him. However, it's Mitchell de Jong back out to your overall race lead. There you can see him with an 8.8 second advantage over Atzi Kirchhoff in your battle for the race lead. But interestingly, again, about 3/10 of a second each lap faster, Alex, compared to Kirchhoff in that red line car.
Yeah, I think the telltale time is going to be when Mitchell pits in. When did he pit in? I'm trying to think. It was about 22, wasn't it? So
yeah.
We're probably looking at about 44 for him to come in again. That's where Kirchhoff's going to be really quick. Those maybe 5 or 6 laps. Atzi's going to need a clear track. Hopefully he can push sort of maybe 1 second a lap faster or 3/4 of a second. It's going to be really, really close at the end of this race.
So then, ladies and gentlemen, with over half of the race complete in the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing, here is how things stand. It's Kirchhoff De Jong from Kirchhoff, and Barazini from Vaz, from Holtzman, Lindsay, Avery, Martin, Aloma, and Tanahote. We're going to step aside for one moment. We'll be right back with continuing coverage of the first round of the RaceSpotTV Pro Series of Road Racing, powered by And1 Design. Stick with us. So there are the 2 lead changes so far in the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing, as Mitchell de Jong is once again your race leader. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, plenty of action coming your way on RaceSpotTV this November, including continued coverage of the RaceSpot.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Also, the World Cup Group C tournament stage this week, and then the finals next week. The Near Endurance Series, the Master of Tweakers Series, as well as 16th Street League competition, and every Monday night, the Club UK and Ireland Skip Barber Racing School Championship. RaceSpotTV, your home for all things sim racing this November. As I say, de Jong continues to lead with 38 laps of this race going to be scored complete, this time by gap between himself and Kirchhoff, about 8 seconds on the racetrack. Barazini and Vaz, they have still got their scrap going on for P3, P4, despite completely different strategies there, Alex.
Yeah, of course. Fulvian went just a little bit longer into that first stint. It's going to be interesting to see where Vaz pits this time by. Definitely been the man on the move as far as closing up between these two this stint. I mean, what's the gap now? Just over a second. So he's getting into that sort of dirty air window. Maybe he'll just get enough to get a draft and maybe put a move in before these pit stops come up.
You make a good point. The dirty air effect really kicks in about 1 second, but you don't get the advantage of the slipstream until you're about 0.6 of a second back. So right now, Vaz is really having to push his tyres. Is there the chance that he could push them too hard and actually not have anything to respond to Barazini just before that second round of pit stops for these guys? And of course they are on a 2-stop strategy.
No, not really. The tyres don't really fall off as much just because we're pushing them or we're in the dirty air. What tends to affect the tyres the most is the heat the more we push the cars, the heat build up, and but over 1 to maybe even 10 laps really behind a car, it's not really going to make too much difference. Just the car being out on the track will heat the tyres up enough that we'll lose a little bit of grip and won't be able to push quite as much. So yeah, it's not going to make too much difference right now. He can push as hard as he likes behind him. He won't have to worry about the tyre falling off anymore.
Getting close to 2/3 distance, and Vaz's last lap time, there you see it, a 126.714. Sorry, 7880 even, it come up on our screen, just changed a little bit there, but as these guys continue to battle for P3, P4 on the racetrack now, nice little scrap going on a little bit further down. This is between Rizky Arisaki and Marcus Gachon in the battle for P13 on the racetrack. We have a look there from the rear, and Gachon's going to try and look down to the inside, not quite close enough there, Daniel, as these guys scrap outside of the top 10.
Yeah, this could get pretty interesting and pretty important to, come the end of the season. So if these guys end up dropping back a bit in the points, I mean, they're sort of in the middle of the top 25 right now. So you'd think that they're pretty safe within the top 25. But these guys are having a good battle. I mean, some good racecraft practice really for next year for when they're in WCS if they continue this performance.
And it is worth very quickly running through what it means when we talk about points, prizes, and everything else. Now, 50 drivers are eligible for the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing, 25 of whom are drivers who ran in the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. The main made up of places from Season 1, 2, and 3 of the 2014 iRacing.com Class A Grand Prix Series. They will do battle for 10 races in this campaign, doing visiting even a number of racetracks, including Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Silverstone, Suzuka, Circuit of the Americas, Watkins Glen, VIR, Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, Road America, before concluding at Interlagos. Then the top 25 will get themselves the golden ticket to the 2015 World Championship Series, whereas the others, well, they lose their Pro Series, and Alex, they have to do it all over again next year.
Yeah, it's I know when I was running the Pro Series, that was my main target, was just make sure I get through. I didn't fancy having to go through the Grand Prix Series all again, waiting to be able to get my license to compete in the World Championship races and then do the Pro. So yeah, it's a long old journey, and this is what puts a few drivers off perhaps going for this World Championship Series. You know, it does take a lot of commitment to do it. So those guys here now, they've shown that they've got what it takes to put themselves through a year's worth of the FW31, which in itself is an achievement.
Yeah, indeed. Also some prizes in play as well. To the winner, they'll get themselves 300 iRacing.com credits. Second place, 200. Third place, 100. Fourth and fifth, each $50 in iRacing credits. As we're having a look then from the rear of Connor, as he's going to lose a position there to Michel Mancusi, and Mancusi's going to sweep himself past up into the 19th place there on the racetrack, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely a good move by Mancusi around the outside then, very clean. I thought Connor might have tapped and gotten into turn 3 there, but wasn't the case. And now Connor is actually under a bit of pressure from, that would be Tommaso Carla in behind him now.
Yeah, as we're getting ourselves a look there, a replay up on your screen. Mancusi on the outside as they work themselves down in towards turn number 2. Nice little slide job there, getting himself past. Connor now is, as you say, under pressure in what is now the battle for P20 on the racetrack. And Alex, every position in this series will always matter.
Yeah, of course, just the one drop round, so every single point matters. We saw in previous championships that battle for the top 25 always seems to come down to 2 or 3 drivers, and they are literally fighting for every single point. So right now, these points just on this early race are so important. Guys will know that out there, and Tomas just goes very deep into that into that tricky right-hander there, and he's going to lose a place to, I'm not sure who that's just flown through there actually.
It was actually De Jong putting him a lap down, Alex.
As there you can see De Jong just in the middle of your screen now, working himself past some traffic, and as we said a little bit earlier on, blue flag rules are in operation in both of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing and the World Championship Series. And Alex, it is a big change compared to what you were used to back in the Grand Prix Series.
Yeah, massive change. I mean, just the extra length that you have to do, and the 1 week's practice, one race, and it doesn't half spice things up. There's when you're doing the Grand Prix series, you really can just sort of battle as hard as you want to do, knowing that you've got 4 races and the best one counts. But here it's just what you've got one shot and that's it, and you need to drive with that in mind. And another little mistake from I think that's Conno ahead of Carla there, but yes, it's a tricky mindset for the guys. They want to push hard, but they've also got something in the back of their head that says don't make a mistake.
Don't make a mistake. And as far as mistakes in this event are so far, we have just 2 drivers out of the race, 3 drivers actually. Ishawaka, Atuya and Kutskanov all classified as out of the race. Everyone else, 31 drivers, are still running. Drivers scored on the lead lap, well, they are Carla, Conno, Clark, Henriksen, Bida, Nielsen, Dunkel, Manley, Lindsay, Miglick and Oliveira. So a number of drivers are scored 1 lap down. We've got now 19 drivers scored on the lead lap. Michelle Mancusi is the lead last one of those drivers is there. You see him up on your screen. I do believe actually he has just been put 1 lap down. Check it out. No, he hasn't. I take that back. We've only got 24 drivers scored on the lead lap. So our timing and scoring just wearing a little bit off there. As you can see, there
De Jong's in the pits.
De Jong, that's the reason why. De Jong's back on pit road there. You see him. Well done, Daniel.
Thank you.
So 9
Dion had
seconds.
a lot of traffic ahead of him, and I wonder if he's pitted just a little bit earlier because Kirchhoff was down to 6 seconds behind, and he was going to lose perhaps 2 or 3 seconds trying to get through that traffic. So looks like he might have dived in just a little bit early.
And now, of course, it's going to be Kirchhoff who's going to have to deal with that traffic. We'll see whether or not he responds. As you see, that De Jong does come back out just behind one driver and just ahead, actually, one of the TNT races. That is Benjamin Lindsay. So, really not ideal there at all for De Jong. 44 laps into this event, a little bit earlier than his first stop. Of course, his first stop was sloppy, his second stop a lot better. But we're having a look now on board with Benjamin Lindsay. The question's going to be, will Lindsay try and make a pass on De Jong? Because, of course, at this stage of the race, as we alluded to earlier, Lindsay, those guys who haven't stopped, are going to be about half a second faster than what De Jong's doing right now.
Yeah, Lindsay pitted same time as De Jong, I believe, in the first stint, so I expect him in any time now, maybe even this lap, which I think Mitch will be grateful for if that's the case. So doesn't want to lose any time with quicker guys just behind him on lighter fuel coming through.
As we ride along board of Lindsay as they come back down into that very difficult turn 11 braking zone, and no pass going to be happening this time by. Will Lindsay come to pit road? We'll stay along board of him, and you'll go Bailey. Let's go straight on, and indeed do go straight on. So Lindsay is on towards pit road this time by, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. Got very close to De Jong a couple of times just under brakes after he came out. So obviously just not expecting the slower car, or the heavier car I should say, De Jong. As he comes into his box now and hits his marks absolutely perfectly.
And Vaz also making a pit stop that time by. We just saw him coming out of pit road there. You can see him out and away. Pit stop time for him, 9 seconds exactly. Lindsay's his stop, 9.1 seconds, and they see him coming out and away. So the second round of pit stops is underway. Kirchhoff is once again scored as your overall race leader. Lindsay, as he comes back out onto the racetrack, it's just behind Dimitri Yanis on the racetrack. And it's that whole thing here. How difficult is it to deal, Alex, as a driver on a different strategy, coming out in amongst traffic, not knowing who you're necessarily racing with and who's on that completely different strategy? Because we saw a job earlier on, getting a little bit confused over who he's actually having to fight for overall position.
Yeah, I think that's the key part. When you know you're on a different strategy, you really need your spotters and your ears just telling you what's going on, who's on what, so you know who you need to battle with. You need to look at times and have a good idea on who's on the same strategy, who you know you need to battle with. So yeah, that is definitely the tricky part. And I think when you come out and you're on, say, heavier fuel, you know you don't want to lose time, especially like Mitchell right now. He's being chased down by Atsi at the moment, so it's all important that he doesn't have to battle with anybody. Just, you know, half a second here, half a second there, and you know, it can get a bit frustrating in that cockpit when you know you're losing time and there's nothing you can do with the strategy.
There you can see then, once again, your race leader, Atsi Kirchhoff, with a 10.7 second advantage over Fulvio Barazzini, as Team Redline lead Team Triple M in this event. Of course, Kirchhoff, Barazzini yet to make their second stop of the day. And each of your top 3 drivers, we do know, Daniel, that they are each on a 2-stop strategy. There are a couple of people who we are going to pay attention to. There are people like Christian Tanahote, also potentially Miguel Martin. I don't think that was a particular one-stop strategy for him, however. Tanahote, Isawaki, Job, and Yenko all running outside the top 10 right now. Very easily could be back in the top 5 as these guys make their second pit stop of the day.
I'm just looking at the gaps from where they are now. I think they'll be scratching for a top 5. I definitely think they'll make the top 10. But I mean, like Miguel Martin, currently 6th, is about 20 seconds up the road. So I'm not quite sure if Tanahote and Irizaki will get a top 5 with their strategy. But I think they'll be 6th or 7th come the end of the race.
As we're having a look at Atsi Kirchhoff, his highest place of the day, well, that's where he's running in right now, P1. His lowest is P2. Of course, he pitted a lot later than some of the other people. He was able to make good use of selective strategy there, working himself past Michel Mancusi to put him 1 lap down on the racetrack. A little bit further back, there you can see the Triple M car of Fulvio Barrazzini. Of course, he started this race in the 2nd position. Got himself that slow start. Kirchhoff went past him at the very start of this race. And ever since then, he's kind of been running in that P2, P3 position. Never higher than P2, never lower than P5, Alex. Barrazzini, I think he's just running for points, getting himself a good start to this campaign.
Yeah, good stint this one for Fulvio, and we saw that Yao's already been in, so Fulvian's out. He's stretching that little gap. He was coming under pressure, but yeah, this is a good solid drive for him, and I fully expect him to finish 3rd here unless he makes a mistake, and I hope I haven't cursed him by saying that.
Alexi Aloma going to make his 2nd stop of the day. Yes, we know what he is doing as he's on pit road, out of pit road, 8 seconds for him. And Dimitri Yanis right behind, 7.9 second stop. As I just see Sebastian, is that Samuel Clark, Sebastian Job on pit road? I see one of them on pit road with a bent up rear end. In fact, actually, it's Sebastian Dunkel there. There we see him. A very long stop for him, down in 30th position, all bent up there. That's going to be a disappointing end to his first race of the campaign there, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. I think the car looked like, I thought I saw him when he was getting that car back to pits, and looked like he was sort of crabbing as well, so I think there might be some suspension damage involved with that as well.
Samuel Clark making his 2nd stop of the day, out and away in the TNT number 75 car, 8.9 second stop for him. Now let's see where he feeds back into play. It looks like he'll be outside of the top 25. No, he'll come out in 25th position on the racetrack. We've got Michel Mancusi now. Oh, he's just gone off in incredible fashion there. I'm just trying to figure out where that is. That's Mitchell de Jong has just come up behind him. But Mancusi, he's not going to be very happy with that. I think he's got himself some damage as well. We'll get ourselves another look at that one. But you do not want to be having an issue, especially when you're the guy who just lost yourself the chance to run in WCS last year, then off in a very big way there, Alex.
Yeah, that car's done. I would think he might get a new front wing on that, but I have to think the front suspension there looked like it had taken too much of a knock, and I think his race is well and truly over.
So let's get a look then for Michel Mancusi. See if we can figure out what happened to him. This is down in towards turn 2. Coming down into the corner. And that's what the issue is for Mancusi. He just completely looped the car. Then he got hit, actually. So that was the reason he got hit by another car. So that is why he's got all those crabbing damages. He went off on the racetrack. We'll try and figure out who it was who he hit at some point too. Because they say we have got Atsi Kirchhoff on towards pit road for his 2nd stop of the day. There you can see him on the jacks getting himself fuel and tyres. 7.8 seconds out and away. De Jong just going past him, but Kirchhoff is a lot closer as Fulvio Barrazzini also onto pit road as well from 3rd place. So Fulvio Barrazzini in on the same lap as Kirchhoff. 7.7 seconds out and away for him, but Atsi Kirchhoff comes out in 2nd place, is a lot closer though to ride along board. You can just about now see de Jong. So a good 2nd stop there for Atsi Kirchhoff, putting himself arguably back into contention, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. The short fuel that he needed to take there really meant his stop was a lot shorter than Mitchell's. I think he lost about 26 seconds there. So with everything, so definitely in with a shout now. Fresher tyres, perhaps maybe give him 2/10 of a second advantage. It's still got a little gap to close up, so it's not going to be easy for sure.
And the gap, it's about 2.5 seconds on our timing and scoring screen. We'll get confirmation if they come past the line. Vaz, of course, has made his second stop of the day. There you can see him. He is scored in the 4th position. Patrick Holzman as well is running himself in the 5th position. And Holzman is only about 1.7 seconds ahead as it stands right now to Richard Avery in this battle for position on the racetrack. So we'll just have ourselves a quick look at this battle. Holzman to Avery, 1.8 seconds on the racetrack, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure if Avery will have the pace though for Holtzman. Depends really on the tyre life, but I think Holtzman, unless he makes a mistake, has definitely got the advantage over Avery right now.
Just having a look actually at the last lap times, and for Holzman it was a 127.3, 127.1 for Richard Avery. And having seen Avery in competition quite a number of times before, I know that he is very good in the last section of this race. And also we've got a good little scrap going on here between Iwasaki Tanahote and also Miguel Martin, as we're having a look now from the rear of the running racing car of Iwasaki. Now, we know that these guys are supposed to be on a one-stop strategy, so this is for position. It's a 7 tenths per second gap between Iwasaki and Tanahote, then another 6 tenths per second to Miguel Martin. Great little scrap developing here, Alex.
Yeah, Iwasaki actually just put the move on Christian that lap going into turn 5, I believe it was. Great little move, tussle between them. And also Miguel's pitted, so he's on fresh rubber out there, and that will make a bit of a difference. You're talking 2 or 3 tenths over these one-stoppers, so I expect Christian to come under a fair bit of pressure from Miguel shortly.
And there you can see Tanahote as well, and we'll have a look on board with him in the friction racing car. There is the gap behind him, by the way. It's 6 tenths per second between Tanahote and Miguel Martin. There you can see the gap as we cycle our camera around to work through the S's. Now this gap is sometimes larger than it appears, especially for this section of the race, the high speed section, but then it will close all the way back down in this corner, turn number 9, and again in turn 10, Alex. And it sometimes gets a little bit confusing knowing your braking zones when you have got a car that close to you.
Yeah, you wouldn't think FW31s block out too much of the racetrack, but when you're tucked up close trying to get a move, all you really do see is a whole bunch of rear wing, and sometimes you'll see drivers just pop out and try and spot their braking point before they duck back in and things like that. So yeah, it's very tricky when you're up close, and a lot of guys will do a lot of practice with their teammates running so close, so they get used to picking up slightly different braking points so they know where and push it as much as they can.
As you can see, those 3 drivers continuing to remain in line then, as we've got now just 15 laps to go of this, the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing. Another little scrap that we've got to get ourselves settled is between Kono and Henriksen. Now these guys have been battling pretty much all race long. Virgil Racing for Henriksen and Running Racing for Kono. And again, good scraps. You talked about this earlier on, Daniel. People will get battles all race long as Henriksen just diving into pit road there, and we'll ride along board with him. So that battle is over, but some of these guys will be battling all season long, and it's a good chance to really psych out your opposition in this first race of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you distract him, as Hendrickson missed his pit stall, he pulled up a bit short. But just distract him in the mirrors, and then eventually force him into a mistake. You can really distract him and really sort of taunt them for the whole season. So mind you, Hendrickson running. I'm pretty sure that's his 3rd stop. So I'm pretty sure that's a 3-stop strategy there for Hendrickson. It hasn't really worked out for him though.
It is, as his first stop, 6.9 seconds. Of course, that could have been a couple of seconds almost quicker. He comes out behind Samuel Clark, and actually that time he lost being short into his pit box cost him 22nd place on the racetrack, Alex.
Yeah, that's, you need to make sure you nail those pit stops there, and that extra stop really hurt him there.
Ati Kirchhoff is down now to just 2.5 seconds on the racetrack between himself and Mitchell de Jong. There is a lapped car ahead of them as they come into the back straight away. Once again, right along board of Ati Kirchhoff. This is the gap to the race lead. 2.3 seconds. Last time by, Kirchhoff a little bit faster by about a tenth of a second. These two will scrap. 12 laps to go. How hard do you think Kirchhoff will try and go for the win, Alex?
Well, I think Atsy's a racer, so for sure, if he can get an opportunity to go for a move, he will do it. But I'm not counting anything away from Mitchell as well. He'll battle hard, and what I hope for sure is that it's a clean battle. We don't see him plow into each other for sure. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think as long as traffic stays out of the way, this is going to be an interesting fight.
As they can see, the gap between P1 and P2, it is just about 2.5 seconds. As there you can see your race leader coming down in towards turn number 4, Mitchell de Jong, and there you see Atsy Kirchhoff just about 2.5 seconds back. They work themselves underneath the oval which was created as part of this development as Honda decided they wanted to get into American open wheel racing. They needed a road course and they needed an oval. They did it all on one site. And one of the things about this track is, you think about most rovals, that you have a little bit of the oval incorporated into it. This track, they share a pit lane to some extent, but realistically, they don't share any part of this facility at all. So for the road course people, they do lose a little bit here. Sight lines, for example, because of the fact that they've got the oval in the way, Alex. Apart from that, this is a great facility.
Yeah, this is a great track, and I don't know what it is about Honda and tracks that they seem to put together for testing, you know, but they do... You compare this and Suzuka, very, very unique tracks. So, you know, you've got figure of 8 for Suzuka, and then you've got the road and the oval all in the one facility here at Motegi. You know, and it's carved out at the top of a mountain as well, just to add to it. So yeah, they seem to come up with some great layouts that are good for racing, and yeah, let's hope they get the call to design some more F1 tracks, because the Tilkodromes that are out there at the moment, yeah, we need spicing up.
We made it 54 laps before we've taken the mick out of Herman Tilke, but Christian Tanahote and Miguel Martin battling for position. There you can see Tanahote just 2/10 of a second ahead of Miguel Martin. Martin doing a sterling job there inside the top 10 in the Radicals Online car, and the Friction Racing Machine of Tanahote just ahead with 10 laps to go this time by. What a great scrap we have going here, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Miguel Martin's all over the back of Tanahote. But Tanahote's just keeping his cool and just driving the car as he would, and he's holding his position really nicely despite having the older tyres being the one stop strategy. But overall, I think Friction Racing, definitely in the form of Tanahote anyway, really making their mark and saying that they're ready for the big leads.
Sebastian Job and Alexi Aloma also battling for position now. Job displaced from where he started this race, as has Alexi Aloma. Just having a look at the stats here, and for Sebastian Job, he started this race in 7th position. He's run as low as 16th, worked himself back up, but a net loss of 5 spots. But Alexi Aloma, the damage has been a bit less, but again, he's also struggled at parts on this race. He's right along board with Aloma in the Glacier Racing car as he comes back down in towards turn number 9, Alex.
Yeah, Alexi a lot quicker at this point on that fresh rubber. We saw the gap just about 3 or 4 laps ago. I think it was 2 seconds, so it's been able to close in. This is where it becomes quite tricky. It's not the easiest track to overtake. Need to get within that 4/10, perhaps coming out of that final hairpin into this right-hander if he's going to have a shot.
Down they come in towards 12 once again then, and Aloma not quite close enough, as we've now got ourselves just 10 laps of this, the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing to go. They continue their scrap, and this has been a great event that has been going on between these two drivers. Aloma looking to the outside, not quite close enough to come back down in towards 1, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like Aloma definitely has the pace over Sebastian Job right now. He's just not really close enough yet. I reckon if he can stay about this distance, coming out of the hairpin, and then get the drive down the back straight, that he will be close enough to have a go. As Job going a little defensive there, and then trying to break the slipstream of Aloma down into turn 5.
Right, back on board then with Aloma as they come underneath the bridge once again, down towards 7 and 8. And this is a gap which I think that Aloma just needs to have made that move maybe of a lap, maybe 2 laps ago, getting some heat into his tyres now, perhaps a little bit of frustration, getting to the head of the Finnish driver. Don't forget, by the way, Club Finland will be in action a little bit later on here on RaceSpotTV as we begin coverage of the Group C tournament race for the World Cup of iRacing. In fact, that starts in just 33 minutes time, so we are going to have to leave this event pretty soon after we conclude it. You will see Club Finland in action, as well as Club Iberia, Club Northwest, Club West, and also Club Scandinavia. Mitchell de Jong does lead, but that gap is now down to just 1 second on the racetrack, Alex.
Yeah, this battle's really starting to come alive now. Atsy's been absolutely flying these last few laps. Just that little bit fresher rubber that he's got out there really starting to make a difference. I think he's going to have the same sort of problem that we've seen the other guys have. Once you get up to him, get him past is a completely different story. Motegi, as I've said a few times, very, very tricky to overtake. Those guys that are battling the one-stoppers out there are finding it difficult to get past, and Mitchell's on a two-stop, so his tyres just in a slightly best condition, so it's going to be a tall order for Atsy to get a run. My best guess is he's going to pound the pressure on and try and see if Mitch will just make a tiny little mistake and then he'll pounce.
And if you talk about pressure, you've got to talk about the guy who came second in the 2013 World Championship Grand Prix Series. That is this guy, Atsy Kurakov, who ride back along board with once again with less than 10 laps to go. What a way to conclude our first race of the campaign, Daniel. We so often talk about this series being about getting your golden ticket, and that's about it. But for Kurakov, for de Jong, we are seeing the makings of what could very easily be a season-long scrap between two great organisations and two fantastic drivers.
Definitely will. I mean, both of these drivers also have a lot of racing experience. I mean, Mitchell de Jong runs in the American Rallycross Championship. Atsy Kurakov, as you said, had a year off last year to run Formula 3. So these guys definitely know how to drive in real life as well as virtually, and we're about to see two of the best in this series this year go head to head.
Oh, this could be absolutely great, and this is just a preview of what you will see arguably in the next 9 and a bit races here on RaceSpotTV, your official home for the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing. Gap is now down below 3/4 of a second last time by, to 1 minute 26.5 for de Jong, 1 minute 26.3 for Atsy Kurakov. We'll keep an eye out on the gap, because this could be a grandstand finish for drivers. Christian Tanahote and Miguel Martin very quickly are having a nice little scrap as well. Martin just 2 tenths of a second behind Tanahote, and of course we need to remember here, Alex, that the Friction Racing car is on older tyres, much older tyres compared to Miguel Martin.
Yeah, it's important for him. He's going to be focusing everything he does on his exits right now. He just needs to smash his exits, get a good drive off of those corners. That's what's going to make it almost impossible for Miguel to run and get past him here.
As we stick it with Miguel Martin for just 1 moment's time to give you an update as well. Job is still ahead of Alexia Loma, running along board with Miguel Martin. I don't think it'll be close enough as they come down into 12, not quite that time by. But we'll keep an eye out, of course, on Alexia Loma as well. As there you can see him still behind Sebastian Job, and that dirty air really coming into effect here, Alex.
Yeah, I think that's the huge advantage you have when you're in front, is you know the guys are behind you have got to deal with that. Sebastian's getting a little bit off of the back marker ahead of him right now. But I mean, it can save you. It's like your little trump card that, you know, they might close in at maybe 2 tenths of a second, but as soon as they hit that dirty air, then all of a sudden it's they're about stationary as far as the gain and loss comes. So it's all about whether or not you make a little mistake, keep it clean on the track, and you should be able to hold off the guy behind.
A little bit of defense being played there for Sebastian Job that last time by, as they work themselves down in towards 2. The gap between these two drivers is still 3 tenths of a second on the racetrack as we finish off here at Twin Ring Motegi. Miguel Martin and Christian Tanahoe, there you can see the gap that still remains at 3 tenths of a second. It's just gone up actually a little bit by about a tenth of a second, but you normally expect it at this corner. The battle for the race lead, you're not missing anything there. It is still 6 tenths of a second. If it gets any closer, we'll keep you informed. In fact, it has just gotten a little bit closer, but we'll stick with Miguel Martin for the time being. He got himself a bit of a wiggle that time by Daniel. That, I think, cost him the chance to make that move down in towards 12.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said earlier, Miguel Martin's got so much more pace having the new tyres over Tanahoe. But he just can't get it done. I mean, Tanahoe's got track position, and around here, track position. Oh, Tanahoe got a bad exit there. Got a bad exit coming out of turn 14, but I don't think Martin's going to be close enough going into turn 1.
No, we will just have a look and don't think so, but if Martin can keep himself a good line through here, could give him the opportunity into 2. We have seen this one happen before. Down in towards turn 2, less than 5 laps to go, and Martin has to stay in line for the time being. But there you can see Antti Kirchhoff right on the rear now of Mitchell de Jong. That last time by, pretty even in times, but you expect that as you hit that dirty air. We know that red line historically run a little bit more wing. Do you think that might hurt his chance to get past Alex?
I think this is going to be, I mean, Motegi's always a tricky one. Guys seem to run full downforce here, just the nature of the track. So I dare say both of them are absolutely maxed out on the downforce right now. So it's all about the corner speed. The straights are so short here that we can't really get up to any kind of real top speed. This is what makes it tricky to overtake. So the full downforce, the short straights. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets past.
Just an update, guys. Alexia Loma has got past Sebastian Joe for P11.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm not sure where Aloma is on my screens. Actually, he's fallen down somewhere. He's actually now behind Dimitri Yanis. So something's happened to Alexia Loma. We'll try and figure this one out after the race. But Aloma did get past, and now he's behind behind Yanis.
Oh, just having a look at the replay on my screen, he lost it coming out of turn 5. They were side by side. Actually, they had a great battle down through turn 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then just lost it. So, yeah, shame for Alexi there. What a great battle that was until then.
One other driver we haven't talked about, is Richard Avery, because he's right on the rear of Holtzman. But carry on, Daniel.
You know what it's like going side by side through 3, 4, and 5. Hey, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that earlier on. I'd managed to block that out of my memory until then.
We're keeping an eye very quickly on Richard Avery. You see, he's about 6 tenths of a second back from Patrick Holtzman. This field, it got itself separated. It's got itself back together. Some scraps that we haven't seen since about lap 5 are back on. Avery trying to close up to the rear of Holtzman. Not quite close enough, so they work themselves back down into 12, but just 3 tenths of a second separating with Varno Racing from PPR, Alex.
I wonder if there's a little bit of grudge match going to go on between these guys. I know they used to be in the same team together. I'm trying to remember what it was called, but can't for the life of me. And I think there was a little falling out in that team. So I think there's a bit of pride on show here for these two. So Patrick's going to want to hold on. I know Richard wants that place.
As we've now got just 3.5 laps of this event to go. It's still de Jong leading from Kirchhoff. 8 tenths of a second is the gap between those two drivers. Barazini runs in 3rd, Vaz in 4th, and Holtzman rounds out your top 5. Here you see the guy in 6th, Richard Avery, Benjamin Lindsay in 7th, Risky Osaki in 8th, Christian Tanahote in 9th, and then Miguel Martin rounds out your top 10. We'll just go back to have a look at that battle with Tanahote and Martin, because there you can see it continues to run board arm, and Martin still not quite close enough, Alex.
No, it's just, again, I talk about these straights just being a little bit too short. Just not enough for Miguel to get the run. He's in the draft. He is getting pulled up to him, but it's just not enough. I mean, I hate to say it, but the only way I think he's going to go by is if he just he does a little bit of a late break, and, guys will call that a bit of a dive bomb, but I think it's the only way he's going to get alongside him. Once he's alongside, then the fresh rubber should out.
Here comes Avery. He looks like he's down to about 1/10.5. Will he try and dive down the inside? No, he doesn't, actually. And Holtzman, ahead of him, gave him the line. And I'm surprised, because we know Avery is very good at late braking, Alex. It just didn't look as though he wanted that position there.
Yeah, maybe Richard favours the turn 1 move instead, but he's not had quite a good exit out of that final corner. So, yeah, it's interesting to see how this one's playing out. Maybe Richard's just waiting for a mistake. He thinks, well, I don't want to ruin anything here with any kind of rash move or anything. So maybe Richard's one of those guys who's going for the World Championship licence at all cost, and perhaps not for personal glory in the series.
Well, the first round of the 2014 ISO.com World Championship Grand Prix Series had pretty much an amazing showdown. The last 10 laps of that one, as it was, at that point, Team Redline versus what was at that point 3ID Motorsports. This time we've got Mitchell de Jong for Orion Race Team battling with Team Redline for another grandstand finish as they work themselves underneath the bridge. They will see the 2-to-go warning this time by De Jong from Kirchhoff, 6/10 of a second. What a great scrap we have going on here. Behind, you still got Holtzman and Avery battling for P4 and 5 and 6. You've also got Tanahote and Martin battling for P9 and 10. What a great way to finish off this race, Daniel. But it does seem to be that Kirchhoff not quite close enough to be able to make any form of impression on De Jong, and De Jong has just been so calm all race long.
Yeah, what a way to finish off. I mean, this whole Pro Series, I hope it's going to be like this, because this has been awesome. Last 3 laps, and we still can't keep an eye on a certain battle. But I think De Jong's just controlling the pace now, despite Kirchhoff's. Kirchhoff's got a bit closer to him this lap. Mind you, got a little oversteery coming out of turn 5 there and dropped him a little bit back. So I think De Jong's just controlling the pace. He knows Kirchhoff's going to be struggling in the dirty air, and he's just maintaining his track position.
There you can see a little snippet of Holtzman versus Avery as that one continues on the racetrack just behind. Here you can see Christian Tanahote and also Miguel Martin and Christian Tanahato as he comes down in towards turn number 1. He's still just keeping ahead of Miguel Martin. We'll pick this one up at the end because here you can see Mitchell de Jong back down in towards turn number 12. 2 minutes left of racing here for the first round of the RaceSpotTV Pro Series of Road Racing. Mitchell de Jong worked himself out of wards, turn number 14. Ladies and gentlemen, this time by the white flags in hand. 1 more lap to go, and Antti Kirchhoff just 6/10 of a second back, Alex.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tall order for Atsi to make a move. He needs to nail these first few corners. Get in within that 0.3 of a second if he's going to make a move onto that final right-hander downhill braking. Can't see it happening myself. I think it would have been done and dusted long ago if he could have got past.
Christian Tanahato, will he make the move? Sorry, will he have Martin make the move on him? We'll have a quick look as Tanahato works himself out of turn number 11. Back down that rear straightaway. This is one they use for the support pits. Doesn't look as though that Martin will be close enough. Of course, he will get one more go next time by, as this is going to go right to the wire. For Mitchell de Jong, he works himself now. That run down towards turn number 9. We're right along board of him. A little bit of traffic just ahead of him, but that won't be enough to give him any form of dirty air. It should be a clean run towards the end of this race. So there you can see the gap on your screen. It's 6/10 of a second as they are back down on towards that back straightaway for the final time. Mitchell de Jong for Orion Race Team had an absolutely superb run in the races he ran in the 2014 RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series, but this is the first race he officially runs with a black stripe. He works himself out of turns number 13 and 14 for the final time. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner of the first round of the season is going to be Mitchell de Jong as he puts one over the experienced Antti Kirchhoff, who has to settle for second place. Fulvio Barazzini, now just working himself down in towards turn number 13, 14 for the final time, will come home in third for the Triple M team, and then it will be Yao Vaz who comes home in the 4th position. Very quickly, Avery on Holtzman. It looks like Avery won't find a way past unless something happens to Holtzman in the final couple of corners. We ride along board with Richard Avery. I don't think there'll be anything close enough. It will be Holtzman who comes home in 5th. Avery will have to settle for the 6th place. And then our final battle with Christian Tanahote will come home in the 9th position. If you can just hold on, Miguel Martin for this final couple of corners. And Christian Tanahote will actually, no, he's just able to hold on there for those final couple of corners. But a great battle there, Daniel, on the last couple of laps in these two drivers.
That was absolutely awesome, Will. I thought Tanahote drove absolutely brilliantly then to keep the 2-stopping, pressure-tired Miguel Martin behind him, and absolutely brilliant drive there for Christian Tanahote.
Wow, what a first race of the season, Alex. What a first race.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest already. I think there's going to be some great individual battles out there, and up front, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Mitchell and Atsi are certainly just a little bit above the rest out there, but it's great that they've got competition in this series, and yeah, for us, we always like to see battles up front, and can't wait till we get to a circuit where
we just had an issue, sorry, at the end of this, Antti Kirchhoff has actually been hit under cooldown there. Now these drivers have got to bring their cars back on towards pit road. I want to have a look at this because the iRacing stewards will likely have a look at this, but under the cooldown lap, Ati Kirchhoff just gets rammed. I'm trying to figure out who that was. I believe it was one of the running racing drivers there, Alex.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened there. Very, very strange.
It was actually I think Kirchhoff actually ran into the back of Tomoki Kono.
Wow.
Well, I mean, as far as having to bring the cars back to the pits, we're fortunately for Atsi, they abolished that particular rule in, so he doesn't have to. You can stop it anywhere now as long as it's safe to do so. So that won't affect any final results, I believe. So I think the race was all finished as well, so he won't lose any safety rating or anything like that. So actually, I think he's got away with that one.
And of course, we don't want any penalties to harm what would otherwise be a great season here. Time to run through your final race results then from the first round of the 2014 Pro Series of Road Racing, powered by And1 Design. And it is Mitchell de Jong who takes victory by just 6.5 tenths of a second over Ati Kirchhoff, with Fulvio Barazzini rounding out your podium. Hal Baz comes home in 4th, with Patrick Holtzman in 5th, Richard Avery in 6th, Benjamin Lindsay in the 7th position, Risku Arisaki in 8th, and then Christian Tanahato in the 9th position. Miguel Martin rounds out your top 10. On to page 2, Sebastian Job in 11th, Dimitri Yanis in 12th, David de Corks in 13th, Martis Caton and Alexi Olema rounds out your top 15, as the rest of the results will come up on your screen momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside, catch our breath, and we'll be back with post-race coverage here in the first round of the 2014 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. You are watching RaceSpotTV, your home of the 2014 World Cup of iRacing Finals. So then, first round of the season is in the books, as we've only got ourselves a 5-minute cooldown here before we actually have to get ourselves ready for the Group C tournament event for the World Cup of iRacing. Will Vincent, along with Alex Simpson, Daniel Benefield, marks out of 10 for this race, Alex. I'm going to have to say, I'm going to give it about an 8.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you there. I think had we seen little bit more overtaking in there, I think then we'd be looking at 9 or even a 10. But yeah, great race strategies galore out there. So people going long with the 2 stops, and then the 1 stoppers getting involved as well, and the 2 stoppers coming back at the end of the race with the fresh tyres. I mean, it was very, very interesting to see how it all played out, and it's great to see. It just 0.6 of a second covers the first 2, and let's hope for more of that in next week's race at Montreal.
Daniel, good event. Arguably, we could have done with a little bit more overtaking. But as Alex alluded to, this track has short straightaways, and you've got to think about it in perspective. This was a track designed for testing, not necessarily for racing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Motegi is one of the hardest tracks to overtake on, so I'm not too surprised that we didn't get as much overtaking as we probably would have liked. But looking forward to Montreal next week, where it should be aplenty.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, in just 7 days' time, we are back for a double header on RaceSpotTV. We start, Alex, with a round that you call the Land of the Pogo, as we go to Canada, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the home, of course, of the fabled Wall of Champions.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting race. See how many people hit that wall. Just last season's WCS, just Kazuki there just comes to mind straight away, looking so good, and just catches that and loses that victory. What his season could have been without that, it would have been awesome.
And of course, we've got ourselves a double header once again. We are unfortunately having to do a very short post-race here today because we've got to prepare ourselves for coverage of the 2014 World Cup of iRacing Group C tournament event. And next week, we're going to have the same, unfortunately, because after the event, we'll have ourselves coverage of the World Cup finals here on RaceSpotTV. So much action coming your way this November. We've already had the 24 hours of Spa. We're bringing you coverage of the iRacing.com Road Pro Series, as well as the World Cup finals, the Neo Endurance Series. That's one that's been hotly anticipated, as well as the Gathering of Tweakers Series. And every Monday night, we've got ourselves Skip Barber Racing School action from Club UK and Ireland. And every Sunday night, we've got ourselves the famous 16th Street Racing League. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of round number 1 of the 2014 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Myself, Will Vincent, Alex Simpson, and Daniel Benefield, we will talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.